Hello, and welcome back to A Slightly Twisted Female. I'm your host, Brittany Roo. Oh yeah, I know it is blocked in the UK. I don't know why. You guys might need to use a VPN. I was surprised that the numbers did decently on my part one of this because I really depend on the UK viewership for all of your views and your support. And I want you to know that I know sometimes I give Great Britain a hard time, but it doesn't mean that I don't love you. You know, it's just like being a sibling. Turf Island and I will always love each other, but I'm sure we will bicker from time to time. Anyway, love you guys. Sorry for the mess in the background. So let's just jump right into it. I just keep thinking about this topic. I just think the Transhausen topic is so important to this overall broad discussion that it really cannot be understated and it really needs to be explored thoroughly. I also want to let you guys know that I do have chicken wings that my boyfriend made me, and I will be eating them throughout the duration of the live stream. And I do hear you guys. For those of you who've been in the comments expressing your concerns about me eating while streaming, I want you to know that I recognize your struggle and I see you and I see the suffering. And there is a way out. You can hit my Venmo at A Slightly Twisted Female or my Cash App at A Slightly Twisted XX. Make sure to add in the notation that it is so that I won't eat. And with your monthly contribution, I will go ahead and forego lunch for the day so that you don't have to be bothered. Or you guys can buy me a new microphone that has like pointed audio detection. Otherwise, unfortunately, we're just going to have to continue as we've been going. But I do thank you for your input. All right, anyway, so it's like so funny too because like I got like some like tiff is in my comments, like, upset about me saying how women are mostly in prison. If they're in prison for a violent crime, it's typically a defensive violent crime. And it's like, hello, women commit like such a tiny fraction of violent crimes. And it's true. And this is another reason why accurate reporting in terms of the sex of the perpetrator is so critical so that we can accurately report on like criminology and crime statistics reporting and stuff like that. Because the fact of the matter is that men and women commit crimes for vastly different reasons under vastly different circumstances. And it's important to know that, and to try to pretend that women commit crimes sort of at an equal degree and of equal quality that men do is so insane. Somebody was like, "Oh no, well, what is she? God, what did she say?" I want to read it because it was like so dumb. Somebody was like, "Hold on." And some other guy was upset, saying that like Gypsy Rose Blanchard like was mad because I said that she wasn't responsible for what the guy did to her mother, and someone was like, "Oh, but they said on the thing that he was manipulated by her." I was like, "Yeah, genius, that was his defense lawyer. Like, of course his defense lawyer is gonna be like, you know no." And Zesty, that again, that's fine. I'm telling you guys, there's a way out. Okay, hit my Cash App. I have 4 kids. I have a huge house. I gotta jam these streams into like the areas of my day where I have free time. And guess what? That happens to be when I have time to eat. So, but again, I need to lose weight and I'm fine to hop on this new program for you guys, The thing is, the difference between like me and your fave Blair White and whoever the fuck else is that YouTube will not allow me to amass a following. It simply will not. I'm not allowed to monetize. I used to make about $300 a stream. When my channel was like really, I feel like it was like off of YouTube's radar. You know what I mean? I hadn't gotten a lot of like, I guess, violations or reports or people or whatever. And it was like, I used to make a lot of money off of my streams. I used to be able to be like adequately compensated for the work that I do. I have virtually none of that anymore. Okay, so everything that I'm doing is like of my own free time and like because I actually really care about doing this. And you know, it's when I can do it during the day. I literally, I don't know if you guys like pay attention, but at the end of the stream, I usually go to the last possible second to either when I need to go pick up my kids and like rush them off to some extracurricular because my kids are like so do so much different stuff. They play basketball, soccer, jujitsu, Boy Scouts, gymnastics, dance class, swim class, and that's across 4 kids, right? So it's like I'm constantly running around. So yeah, like I feel you and all guys, but like I you know, I can't even break 10,000 subscribers. Every single time I have a successful live stream, and I've said this before, and it's the absolute truth. I get a bunch of new subs, and it's like YouTube will punish me for it over the next week. I'll randomly lose a bunch of subs for literally no reason, and it makes sense. Sometimes I'll lose subs because I'll like say something controversial, or I'll like fight with some like infighting or whatever. And that usually makes sense. But no, I've noticed the pattern long enough now. And there's plenty of times where it makes no sense. And again, every time it's like YouTube will let my videos be seen for like up to like an hour before it cuts off showing my videos. And it's like, I'm so clearly shadow banned. And I have people tell me all the time that they're routinely unsubscribed from my channel and they have to resubscribe. It happens all the time. So you guys have to understand it's like, Blair White, who has what, like 1 million followers, can have every one of those people donating $1 a month and he's making $1 million a month. You understand? And it's like, so, if I had like more resources where like I could, make this like a lucrative thing, but until then I'm fucking eating on the stream. If you guys don't like it, like I said, hit my Cash App. All right. So let's see where we're going. Or buy me a new mic. Buy me a new microphone, and then I don't have to talk. The fucking audio is so god awful. I hate using the built-in thing. It's such a pain in the ass. All right, anyway, who cares? All right, so here we go. So I wanted to really go through this whole issue of Transhausen by proxy and the ways in which parents have a massive influence on their children's so-called transgender identity. There is no such thing as a trans child. And actually, all right, so first we're going to look at this, and then I want to talk about what a win that we had from some of our D-trans heroes, Prisha Mosley, Richard Adamene, and I guess their friend Morgan had all spoken to, I guess, like the Senate or a judiciary hearing, spoke out against childhood transition, and they were successful in, I think, either passing a bill or blocking a bill. I think it was passing a bill that basically outlaws all kinds of childhood medicalization, which is such a huge win. And it is a safeguarding factor for the children of that state. And now we have a blueprint for other states to follow. So I want to give them their due credit. But let's take a look really quick at this kid. Anybody who saw, I don't know if anybody's seen this. I remember Matt Walsh was discussing it a lot like last year or like 2 years ago. It came out in 2020. So he was talking about it maybe a couple years ago at this point. Jeez, the time goes by fast. Yeah, it's huge, guys. It's really huge. All right. So this kid there's like, you have like 2 types of like Transhausen. Like people have compared these trans parents, the parents of these trans kids, to like show parents. So you're thinking like, Michael Jackson's dad, or like Tina Lawler, who's Beyonce's mom, these like stage mothers, Britney Spears's parents, or these the pageantry, the little kids who do the like dress up in these like very hypersexualized, lots of makeup, grown outfits, and they do the sort of like southern pageants and stuff like that. And there are so many parallels between some of these trans parents and those other stage parents. It's so much of like coaching them, feeding them lines, getting them out in front of the camera. And so you'll either have, like in the case of Jonathan Joly, where he uses his son Eduardo. You guys are telling me his name is Eduardo. And somebody said that the boy, so Jonathan Joly, he's a family vlogger and like TikToker who turned his son out at like the age of 5. It's so sad. I guess he's like 11 now or something. Like they said, it's been 5 years. It started when he was 5, so he's like 10, I guess. And so it's like you have men like him who do it for the sort of social media clout, and look at their house. Okay, you can make money off of social media. Like, don't get it fucked up. And it's like, I guarantee, I said that, I didn't know if they came in with money, but like you could very easily make a really good living when you have that large of a following. Because like I said, once you have enough of a following, everybody only has to like, donate like $2, right? Like say you have like $500,000 and you're just like, hey, like I'm trying to like fundraise or whatever, and everyone just donate $2, right? I mean, you do the math, that's $1 million right there. And that's only if you get 500,000 out of your like 4 million followers to donate like $2 or less or something, right? So it's like, especially once you start selling merchandise and whatever the hell else. So, so for him, it's very much like his family's bread and butter, and it's like all he kind of like knows how to do. And then you have the situation, then you have the situation like this. So there's, anybody remembers Lawley, I think. Kai Lawley is the little boy whose mom was like a Southern Baptist, and she said that she used to like beat him for being gay. She thought he was gay when he was like a toddler, and she was like beating him. She is like a very clear case of like trans the gay away. So now she's like swung super in the opposite direction and is like transitioning him and like brings him around and has him do like a whole like media circuit with politics. So he constantly is going in front of the Senate. They travel around. So he's very much used as like a political pawn. And that's what you'll see this kid right here. So this kid fits somewhere in between like Jazz Jennings and Kai Lawley. So he does a lot of like political stuff. Of course, he's like being invited to the White House, because we know how much the White House loves to hear from Transformers. And then he's also like wrote a book. So they're really trying to follow like the Jazz Jennings formula for getting this kid some attention. And we're going to watch this really sad interaction of this kid talking about how he feels about it. So let's listen.
NBC, we're gonna be moving
really quick. Zesty says, I blame TLC for making so many child exploitation shows and normalizing it. TLC must be held accountable. Like, I could not possibly agree more. And I really think that the reason why Jazz, for example, went so far as he did is because it's like once you kind of get locked in and you feel like a lot of people are depending on you, you just kind of keep going along with something. You kind of like, you just have to believe that's your role, and there's so much pressure, and it's not just pressure from the network, it's pressure from the fans, and plus they want it all done in like a timely manner because they want, for the storytelling needs. You know what I mean? Oh, we have a new season coming up. We need material for that season. What's going on with Jazz's transition? It's not like he could raise his hand. Like, I'm not sure what I want to do with all of this and risk losing his family's contract. And then of course they always put it on these kids, and you're going to hear it in this. They always put it on the kids. We're like, well, this is what you wanted. This kid literally is trying to tell his family that he wants out. He doesn't want to do this anymore. It's too much. He says it's ruined his life. And the mom is literally, well, this is what you wanted. He's like, yeah, I know. And I'm sure it was never what he asked for. That you always watch how they lead with questions. They basically spoon feed what the kid is supposed to say, where all the kid has to do is like nod and say yes. and it's actually horrific. So so again, there's no easy way out for these kids because so many the adults have tailored their identity. Now the identity of the adults is now so tethered to this child's trans identity that there's really no way out for the kid, right? Whether he wants it or not. So let's take a listen.
In DC, we're gonna be moving to the White House Central area to throw a book in Donald Trump's face. I don't think that we want to say that. No. This one is Time to Thrive, and it's for people who work with LGBTQ youth. We actually go and meet with our senators and representatives. After we do that, we go and sit and sell some of Avery's books for a little while. Avery. Manners. I just don't want to even have a book.
Why does this kid, why is he responsible going on like a big book tour and stuff? This is all very adult expectations of this child. And it's like, well, here's what we're going to do, and we need to do this. And the kid's just like, can I just be let go? And now you can clearly tell it's a boy. Some of these parents get so delusional, like thinking that their son's passed. I'm sorry, Edie, Jonathan Joly's kid does not pass. And he looks creepy. And that's what's sad. It's like you're making your son look like this creepy pervert by cross-dressing him when he looks masculine. He's not an attractive, he's not attractive as a girl. He's a beautiful child. He's not like a pretty little girl. And it's like, I don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, DC Isaac, what's up, girlfriend? I heard that people were abusing you on this platform. I saw your comment and I was like driving and I didn't have a chance to respond. I'm so sorry. I'm telling you, anybody who thinks about wanting to get into like YouTube or like especially gender critical YouTube, the first year is hell. My first year was a living hell for some reason, and I'll make myself break for this, okay? And DC Isaac, I'm speaking specifically to you, but this goes for anybody. For some reason, this is not like a kumbaya sisterhood. I know that it's like feminists and stuff, but these are like the hardcore, like scary feminists, okay? So this isn't like a lot of these women have a lot of kind of like shit going on, and a lot of people do not want new voices to be a part of like this whole narrative, right? There's like an established set of voices that we're all supposed to sort of listen to and look up to as our leaders, and that's it. They don't want new people coming in and adding their 2 cents. You can add your 2 cents in their comment section, right? You can add your 2 cents on your own Twitter, but you don't get to go and build your whole big platform. Then everybody's got a problem. And boy, let me tell you how hard some of these so-called gender critical feminists and rad femmes and whoever else, and not just them, but tried to make sure that I was discouraged from doing this. I mean, people, and I'm not even going to name names, but anybody who's been around long enough knows. And let's just say that, like, I might have been new to this community, but baby, I am not new to the world, and I was not the fucking one. I'm not easily intimidated because I have a real life to anchor me, so I don't get like upset or get my feelings hurt over some like online shit. But man, they came after me very hard. Of course, I was doxxed, I was harassed, people tried to throw these horrible tragedies. One of these so-called feminists' favorite thing to come at me for was the fact that my nephew, my 3-year-old nephew, had horrifically drowned in my brother's pool about 3 months prior to me starting my channel. And man, that was her favorite thing to like come at my neck over and make really hideous and disgusting comments, all at the behest of this other weirdo. So I say all that to say, I had just beaten cancer. I had gotten away from my abusive ex-husband, and there is not a whole lot the internet randos could have done to me at the time to like make, you know what I mean, to get under my skin, because it's like, bitch, I'm fucking barely hanging on by a thread. Like, if I survived all that shit, you're not going to be the one to take me down. So just know that it does eventually get better. It's like once you kind of dig your heels in enough and make it clear that like you're not to be fucked with, which I felt like I constantly was having to prove myself for like the first whole year of me having this channel, that I was like, I am not the one to fuck with. Find somebody else. I remember even on they were talking about me on Kiwi Farms, and somebody's like, yeah, you know, they should because they were talking about how like they were waiting for like Karen and Exelanzic to finally start fighting, and they're like, yeah, they should start with some easy target, like a slightly twisted female. And then they also said Vanessa Vokey and like listed me as like an easy target. I was like, oh, you guys really don't know shit. You guys really don't know shit, because I actually don't give a fuck, right? And it's like, you know, I do, and you know what the crazy thing is? I don't start fights, okay? I don't come for people. I'll come for ideas and things that people say and come for people, you know, but like I won't nitpick other people on my own side. I will respond. I will respond. I'm saying all this to say, DC, I think that you have a really good voice. I really enjoyed listening to your one stream. My only, I think, constructive criticism was I would just say maybe name your streams so it's like clear about what each topic is, just so it's not going in blind, since you like use the same thumbnail and you just name it like I guess like whatever the number is of the stream. But I really do enjoy listening to you, and I think that we need a plethora of voices, and it's like I'm not threatened because nobody is me. You know what I mean? I don't understand people getting threatened about somebody else like coming onto the scene, because it's like, are you that insecure that like what, you don't have enough anything like interesting or unique to say? I know that nobody has my life experience, so there's really nobody who can like come in and make me feel like, oh, I'm going to become irrelevant, you know? No, it's just, to me, it's like another person to like fucking, you know, like collaborate with, and just to kind of like have. I like having other YouTubers, then we can help each other out and stuff like that. So don't give up. Fuck the bullshit. And if you like dig in for, I think like once you make it past your first year, people fall back a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, we will. Exactly. That's right, Kimberly Dash. That's right, Kimberly Dash. You goddamn right. I'm not going anywhere. All right, here we
go. I've done too much in this world. It's ruined my life enough, and now everyone in this world is going to know. If I sell my book, it's going to go on the news along with me for like the 50th time at this point, and it's just going to make my life worse. A couple years ago, you wanted people to know. Yeah, I did, but now that was really stupid, silly mistake, and now I don't.
And also, how much did they convince him? And look what the fuck the mom is wearing. The mom looks like she's like some butch lesbian who's in a heterosexual relationship. They all seem very gender confused, and it's like they're all sexually confused. And it's like, this is what you said you wanted. The kid is like fucking 9 years old. So what, when he was 5, this is what he said? And it's like, no kid comes up and says, hey, I want to be a trans rights activist. If anybody listens to, or no, Kai Shapley, that's his name, Kai Shapley or Shapley or whatever the fuck. His mom is constantly in his face being like, it's just scary. These adults hate trans kids like you. We must fight. If we don't fight, you're going to lose all of your rights. Like, she's constantly pumping into him all this like doom and gloom about adults who hate him and want to strip him of his rights, and they've got to stand up and fight. And he's always like comforting his mom. Ew, it's so gross. Like how they like basically like tell these kids that it's your responsibility to stand up and protect like, you know, trans rights. That is such a huge weight to put on a child. It's like, how dare you? I remember. Oh God. Oh God. I'm gonna tell you guys like a really sad story. I'm gonna try not to cry, but I think it's relevant. So when we found out, oh God, I like can't. Who's Elijah? Elijah Marie, anyone that doesn't stay out of the fake churches and accept the fact that God prefers same-sex marriage will be taken with the wicked. Like, cool, bro. Like, cool. Like, how shocking. Like, oh, we're all a bunch of Christians that can't. We're so offended. Oh, Elijah. Like, bro, don't you have school right now? What are you ditching? Like, PE? Like, go beat it. Like, fucking clown. Yeah, I don't know where. I guess Helena's not here. Who do I need to make? Who's in here a lot? Susie Glucksman, do you want to be a mod? I feel like Susie's in here a lot. And if you don't say anything, I'm just going to make you one. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on, where are we at? Oh, Helena is here. Oh, she is here. Oh, Helena, will you just get, I'm sorry. Yay, Helena, will you just put this, oh, Jennifer Thomas was in here. Oh, hey, Jen, I love you. Just get, I don't know. Just get the person out of here. It seems annoying. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Here, I'll just do it. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, anyway. Love you guys. Fuck, was it? Oh, okay. So, let's just watch the clip. Let's watch the clip one more time. I won't interrupt it.
In DC, we're gonna be moving to the White House Central area to throw a book in Donald Trump's face. I don't think that we want to say that. No. This one is Time to Thrive, and it's for people who work with LGBTQ youth. We actually go and meet with our senators and representatives. After we do that, we go and sit and sell some of Avery's books for a little while. Avery, manners. I just don't want to even have a book. I've done too much in this world. It's ruined my life enough, and now everyone in this world is going to know. If I sell my book, it's going to go on the news along with me for like the 50th time at this point, and it's just going to make my life worse. A couple years ago, you wanted people to know. Yeah,
Oh, he's only 7. He's only 7 and he's this burnt out. Oh, wow. Look at him like nervously ripping apart these like nervous ticks. He's like ripping apart this napkin. He's like, it's gonna ruin my life if I'm on the news again and I have to talk about this book again.
We go and sit and sell some of Avery's books for a little while. Avery, manners.
No, I think he was on the cover of Time magazine. No, not this kid. I think it was Kai Shapley, or was it this kid who was on one of them? It was either this kid or Kai, who was on the cover of Time magazine. They're both very similar cases.
I just don't want to even have a book. I've done too much in this world. It's ruined my life enough, and now everyone in this world is going to know. If I sell my book, it's going to go on the news along with me for like the 50th time at this point, and it's just going to make my life worse. A couple years ago, you wanted people to know. Yeah, I did, but now that was really stupid, silly mistake.
Look at the
and
mom. I'm sorry, but like the mom, it's like, you know that they're all into all this. Like, she probably calls herself queer. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. We're all just a queer family. Like,
no.
And the dad's all dumpy and useless. Like, come on, bro. If as a man, you can't step up and put some boundaries around your son while he's being sexually exploited, because make no mistake, that's what this woman is doing. That's what this family is doing to this child. They were sexually exploiting this child, putting him in cross-dressing fetish gear. And as a man, you can't stand up for your son and be like, fuck no, we're not going to sit here and emasculate him. Not only, it's like, are they doing it privately? They got to do it publicly. We like I said, we need to do it in even this 7-year-old child he's clearly very bright. Clearly a very smart child. It's like, you're given the gift of a healthy, intelligent child. Something that so many couples would die for. Parents who have sick children, genuinely sick children, who are fighting for. I remember on Christmas Eve, or my big thing on Christmas is I force my kids to go like gather up a bunch of toys that they don't want anymore, and then also they have to like buy some new ones. And we go down to the children's hospital and donate them prior to Christmas. And I remember one of my kids was like complaining, like didn't want to go. And I had like checked the shit out of all of my kids. I was like, whoa, first of all, do you have any idea that there are some children right now who this might be their last Christmas? Do you have any idea how much some of these kids would do anything to go home and like wake up on Christmas? And you are looking forward to having like the most beautiful day you're going to spend with your family in your single family house on this beautiful piece of land. And it was like, and you're complaining why that we can like do some small token of a gesture for a kid who this might be their last goddamn Christmas. I was like, yeah, no, like you need to check that attitude so fast. Because like honestly, it is a gift to even have the option to go do something for somebody else, that you're doing so well in your life that we don't have these concerns. And thank God that we don't. So it's like to these families who sort of like manifest these illnesses or create these unnecessary obstacles and burden on their healthy child. The level of I think like gratefulness, the lack of gratitude and humility. I have a healthy child. You should do everything in your power to protect that with your life. And to throw this child in the path of not only medical harm and physical harm, but emotional turmoil. These are very adult topics. I don't let my kids see my channel. They don't need to know about what my older son has an idea. I showed my older son my most watched video ever. I let him watch that because he was asking me questions about my channel and was asking me, and I kind of gave him like, he's in middle school now, and he was kind of asking me, and he was talking about, LGBTQ clubs at school and how it seemed like it was really popular. And I was like, well, what do you think? What are your thoughts on like the idea of like, a boy that coming out as a girl, and what are your thoughts? And he was like, well, I don't really know. It kind of seems like it doesn't make sense, but I figure it's not really a big deal. And I was like, and that's the position that most people take, that it's not really a big deal. But I said, unfortunately, it actually is a big deal. And like, here's what can happen. So I had him watch the video where it's literally, I don't speak in that video not one time. It's all clips from the internet of like detransitioners talking about having medicalized and what it did to their life. And he was like, oh, wow. Like, wow. I didn't know. I didn't know that that's what happened. And I was like, and a lot of people don't, right? So it's important. But it's like, as for all this other stuff, kids do not need to feel like the weight of the whole trans agenda is on their shoulders. Like it's their job to fight for the lives of other kids. It's one thing to come and like do some gesture and, make some cards and go visit the elderly, or, go do some arts and crafts with some like kids who are going through a tough time, or do a toy drive. And that's a healthy way to sort of incorporate them into participating as like a global citizen, as, a good neighbor, right? But saying like, we've got to go to the Senate, and if we don't get this bill passed, these kids' lives are in danger. They're all going to commit suicide, and like all this like real heavy stuff. This kid is like obviously stressed out, like overwhelmed. And it's just like, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, that's something. We'll go back now.
Bro,
BC
at all. I remember I had, when I was planning one of the protests, I had somebody, and I know she like meant well, but was like, yeah, I wanted to like bring my kids or whatever. I was like, yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, if you want to like make your own protest or whatever, but like, no, yeah, bringing children to what could be a very dangerous like moment. It's like these parents who bring their kids to like these like pro-life or like pro-choice rallies, which are like notoriously violent. How irresponsible are you? I'm not gonna lie. Like I feel like when you're a young parent, you know, you kind of like you gotta learn some of the stuff the hard way. So my ex-husband used to work on Wall Street and we used to live in Jersey City. And it was just me and my son at the time. And I used to, so we lived in Jersey City, so we'd always take the ferry over to like Battery City Park, which is like right near Lower Manhattan, near like Wall Street. We'd like walk around. Sometimes we'd like meet my ex-husband after work and like eat and then all go home together. And like, so one time we went over and they were doing Occupy Wall Street. And I did bring my son to that, I'm not gonna lie, but it was like cute. There were like drum circles and stuff. It like wasn't hectic. It was like they were just occupying. It was like a camp and he was like dancing with the drum circles and it was cute. And I remember I kept calling my ex-husband. I was like, well, why don't you come meet us down here? He's like, yeah, Britt, why don't I come leave my corporate job, my finance job in my suit and tie and my briefcase and come meet you at Occupy Wall Street? I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Like, no, we're not doing all this. All right, so yeah. So anyway, so real quick, I just wanted to show you guys what they've done in Prisha Mosley, Richard Anamene, and Morgan. I don't know her last name. Now, these kids don't, you know, Mag M says these parents clearly don't care about their kids' well-being at all, so the protests seem like a problem to, so the protests don't seem like a problem to them, I'm sure. It's all about, again, it's like, this is how toxic the algorithm can make us, where everything is about likes, and it's like, our children just become an accessory, you know, just an I found myself doing that, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, when I was a young parent, when I just had my two sons, when my youngest or my second son was very young and I was doing like mommy blogging, I used to be such a nightmare. I was a fucking nightmare. I don't know how my ex-husband is a dickhead, you know, but at the time he was not that bad. And man, I don't know how he put up with me because I wanted everything perfect. I wanted everything perfect. And it was because I was like competing with these like other mommy bloggers who I was like, they're not gonna have a more perfect Christmas than us. And it's like, I will say the one good thing about being such like a psycho, like a perfectionist, like for my early years of a mother, was like I now have like holiday set up. First of all, I have so many decorations and I get that shit set up and I've got all these little like routines and stuff that I have down pat that like we made back when I was like always trying to like do everything to like look how great of a mom I am. Did you notice what a good mom I am? I am such a good mom. Oh, sorry about the mess. Like after I cleaned for like 4 fucking hours. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you know, our house is not usually this messy, knowing good and goddamn well I just killed myself trying to clean. I'm like bullshitting to everybody. Bro. And it's like, that's what happens. These people get sucked in and they start comparing themselves to other people and all these like Pinterest moms. And it like makes you crazy and it makes you a nightmare to be around. You know, makes you a nightmare. It's totally for the show. And it's like everybody, I would be so mean and grouchy, but it's like, man, we look great in the pictures. Man, I made it sound like, you know, yeah, I'm totally sorry. I'm sorry about the mess, guys. Like, as if I didn't fucking just clean everything, like, from head to toe, and I'm just fucking bullshitting. And it was like, yeah, and I was a nightmare. And it's like, and I realized, I'm like, I'm more concerned. It hit me at one point where I had this, like, huge moment where I was like, I'm more concerned about what like random people that I like sort of know who follow me on Facebook, my like friends that I went to high school with who I want to impress. I'm more concerned about them and what they think than my actual family and how they feel. I'm terrorizing who I actually should care about so that we can like come off as perfect and I can get the right pictures and I can make sure we follow through on all these like special things that I can then go blog about. It was like everything I did was so that I could like go blog about it later. None of it like was authentic after a while. And it was like I really had to have this moment where I was like, I have to stop. I have to stop. This isn't what I wanted. This isn't why I became a mom. I'm getting so spiraled down into like comparing myself to other people and I just, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Luckily, My stuff was I never had like a YouTube with my kids. I was always like fairly private. I just had like a blog where I showed pictures and stuff and like wrote stories. And I did focus a lot on like midwifery and doulahood. So it wasn't just about my kids, but I was definitely in competition with this like other mom that I went to high school with who had gotten this like big following on Twitter for making cakes. And I was like, this bitch isn't gonna I was so fucking nuts. I was like 24, like 25, and just like lunatic. Anyway, but I'm yeah, no, Helena, of course, my darling. You can take any break you want. All right, so really quick, let's look at all right, so Prisha. Congratulations, Prisha Mosley, for a wonderful win at the Louisiana Senate. All right, Prisha, that's what the fuck is up, Prisha. All right, Prisha goes, transgender children in Louisiana can no longer receive gender-affirming health care ranging from puberty blockers to hormones and surgery. That's what's up. That's what's up, Prisha. Huge round of applause for Prisha Mosley for going and speaking and standing up. She's a D-trans woman who is doing the right. She was the one who I kind of was like battling with. And I didn't battle with her, but like her and I went back and forth when I was like clowning the AGP gate lady, the Laura lady. She's like, hey, that's my friend. Prisha's great. And I kind of like explained it to her. She's like, no, I kind of hear where you're coming from. Da, 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 da. She's the example of like a truly, of a detransition woman who's truly on the path to healing. You know, who is trying to turn her pain into strength and to do something with it. So it wasn't all in vain. And she's really doing it. She's fucking doing the damn thing. And I'm so grateful and I'm so proud. And our Richard and Amene also deserves the credit. He too was there speaking out and testifying. And after everything that he's been through, he's so sweet. I love that kid. He's like such a sweet like person, and I'm just really proud of both of them. Yeah, Prisha, that's what's up. So you guys let her know that we called her out in a good way. So let's quick take a look at this because this is all relevant. Louisiana begins new law banning gender affirming. I like how they still call it gender affirming care. Oh, well, that sounds benign. That sounds quite lovely. Well, let's see. Is this it? Hold on. Fuck. Come on, bro.
Everything being online. But my
daughter... no, you don't. It's an ad. You're not getting dollars off of me. You're not getting dollars off of me. I get worried about how detransitioners get used by NGOs like GenSpect. Yeah, well, so not all of them are strong, right? We saw that with Laura. Laura's not strong, and she's actually doing more harm than good and is still very much in her addiction. That's why it's like you always got to kind of like take some detransitioners with a grain of salt because some of them are not really healed and some of them are not in a headspace to be doing any sort of advocacy. They're not even fully where they need to be personally, and they're obviously very like prone to being sort of radical about things and taking things in one direction too far. So it's like, yeah, I think that we all need to be careful about how we use detrans voices and, you know, just make sure that people are in a healthy space and that we're not exploiting them. And also, you know, and some of them flip-flop back and forth, and some of them are still pretty toxic, and some of them are fucking heroes, right? So it's like not all detrans people are the same, just like not all gender criticals are the same, not all trans people are the same, whatever. Yeah, Scott Nugent, man, she's like heartbreaking to listen to. Yeah, Scott Nugent, I feel bad for her, God. All right, anyway, let's see. Is this actually a thing? Oh, here we go.
In the law, in other circumstances, where the state overrules. Now, while there are rare times in the law, in other circumstances, where the state overrules the medical decisions made by the parents, I can think of no example where this is done, where it is not only against the decision of the parents, but also against the medical judgment of the treating physician and against the judgment of the treating team of medical experts. Therefore, I cannot sign this bill as it is currently written.
Okay, So you hear what this guy is saying. So this is a Republican. Make note. When you guys talk about true trans people being on our side, pay close attention to the true trans people. Okay, they're all libertarians, right? Despite their whole thing about, they use all of the same talking points for their own medicalization that the people who are in favor of childhood medicalization use. And remember, we never started off with childhood medicalization. They lied to us for a long time, said it wasn't happening, and then they're like, well, it's happening in certain cases, and that's between a doctor and the patient, and da-da-da-da-da. And they're all, libertarians and saying, the government shouldn't step in. And to be clear, this is not about rejecting people's rights to do basically what they want. I mean, parents should not be able to do, medicalize their child in this way. But it's also about not allowing doctors to perform quack medicine and experimental medicines and surgeries that have lifelong consequences on the bodies of children and young people. And again, this is a Republican. Please understand, the trans lobby realizes that they have to get the Republicans too. That's what the true trans is going to serve to do. The true trans is the controlled opposition that's going to be palatable to the Republicans. And they are going to get in on a small government, small intervention sort of talking point. So a very libertarian talking points. So a lot of these Republicans are totally bought out. And if you think that the trans lobby is just going to go down because a few women decided to speak up and because Elon Musk decided to let us speak more on Twitter, you got another thing coming. The amount of money and strategy and effort, and it was this huge collaborative concerted effort, and the amount of money that's already been made and across multiple industries. Think about it. Target is making money. These corporations are making money. Every Pride Month. The big pharma is making money. The cosmetic industry is making money. Now they've expanded to marketing towards, men, plastic surgery. Sir, we don't allow 10-year-olds to get breast implants, right? We don't allow, 11-year-old boy. What if a mother took an 11-year-old boy to go get a penis piercing? Would you think that that's normal and reasonable thing to do? No, because it's not. Because committing plastic surgery, unnecessary cosmetic surgery for an aesthetic on the bodies of children is not a reasonable thing to do. It's not like the kid got his ear bitten off by a dog and had to be reattached by a plastic surgeon, right? It's not the same thing. Let's see. DC Isaac says, penalizing doctors for doing this stuff and putting no statute of limitation on detrans lawsuits could really throw a wrench in the gears. And that we have to use lawfare. This is all about money. We've got to hit them where it hurts. So this guy's a pussy for not signing. And I love how it's again, he just shows how much they're throwing a tantrum, but it passed. So it doesn't even matter. Louisiana begins 2024 with a new law banning gender-affirming healthcare. You can already tell what side they're on just by the language. When they say anything like gender-affirming, you already know that they're pro-troonery. With gender-affirming healthcare for transgender minors joining its neighboring states and more than 20 others in enacting complete or partial bans, many of which are being challenged in court. Again, if it's that's the will of the people. It's the will of the people. We don't want this stuff near our children. We don't want parents who are so disordered to be allowed to do this. Was Dee Dee Blanchard, was she justified in what she did to her daughter so that she could get attention? Why would these people be justified? Right? Why would these people be justified? See you later. Oh no, Joan. Thank you for stopping by. All right. So anyway, big shout out. Real quick, let's take a look at Prisha's speech, and then I want to get more into this guy.
My name is Prisha Mosley. I was 15 years old when trans-identified adults found me online and convinced me that I had been born in the wrong body. After a rape at 14 and multiple mental illnesses, including borderline personality disorder, this was easy to do. My hatred for myself and fear of re-victimization was exploited by the adults around me, who convinced me that I needed drugs and surgery to be myself. At 17, high doses of testosterone were injected into my anorexic body, and 1 year later, my healthy breasts were removed. Testosterone had severe and irreversible impacts that I will live with for the rest of my life. My large, painful shoulders match my overgrown heart, an increased risk for heart attack and stroke. My back and joints ache constantly. Even as I sit before you, it hurts to speak. I am suffering with severe vaginal atrophy, which prevents me from even using tampons. Large parts of my adult life were taken from me as a mentally ill teenager, and I mourn this loss every day. My trauma was never looked into, and my desire to hurt myself was supported by my doctors and the community around me. I was exploited in my most vulnerable time, and body parts were removed from me. 2 weeks before I was written my letter of recommendation for breast removal, I was in the mental hospital for another suicide attempt. My letter said that I was stable. My surgeon didn't care about the scars and fresh wounds all over my body when he looked at them when he made me take off my shirt. He was ready to cut me up more. Now I live in a painful body that no longer belongs to me. The trans community tells you to kill your old self with a dead name and everything, and I did. The girl I was gone and has been replaced by a medical experiment. I support any bill that prevents someone else from suffering the harms of gender-affirming care.
So you were groomed. Am I concerned? Am I saying that right? Were you groomed by somebody?
Absolutely. I wasn't using that word at first because I thought it was too polarizing. But what happened?
So he said groomed. At first I thought he said you were grown, but he said groomed. It's so horrific. And God, it's sad. It's sad. But again, so not gonna lie, it's bugging me that nearly 20-year-old Chloe Cole is wearing pigtails like a little girl. Yeah, I mean, but you also gotta understand, like, everyone develops at a different pace, and 20 is really not that old. And it's like they've been stunted, I think, from a lot of this stuff. I don't know. I don't think it's inappropriate. I think she's wearing fine stuff.
Happened to me fits the very definition of grooming. I was online in anorexia communities, and transgender adults came in and told us that the reason we couldn't eat was because we were born in the wrong body.
And how deep did that?
Yeah, I agree. I wear pigtails. I think it's cute. Yeah, not telling a child that they're born in the wrong body is one of the most evil things that you can do. It's one of the most evil things that you can do. You weren't supposed to be like that, Making comments about a child's body in general is just so inappropriate. My mom used to do that. My mom used to always be like, "Oh, suck in your tummy," and what else she used to say? She's like, "Oh, you've got that big rib cage and that big bone structure. That's from dad. I'm just sorry." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, what the hell? And it's like, and I don't know. It's like, I can never look at my daughters and be like, "Oh, there's something wrong with one of you." I just marvel. I stare at them and I'm like, "God, I made this. I made you. Like, what a fucking miracle." And it's like, I'm infertile now. I'm like, was so grateful that I got to have my children before all of my medical issues. And I'm just like, God, what a gift. Like, where did you even come from? Like, how could something like so perfect, come from me? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, I can never look at one of them and be like, "Oh, you're not as good as what I would want you to be," or something. Yeah, I know. My mom is passing on generational trauma. My mom's whole history is sad. She's so emotionally stunted. Her dad died when she was 16, and she was like one of 6 children, and like very much like the baby boomer era. And both of her parents were in the Navy, and her mom was a nurse. So it was like once her dad died. And then it was like on her, it was like the kids were kind of like on their own a lot and like raising each other. And my mom had like really severe ear infections that damaged her hearing. It was before they had like the tubal draining and stuff. So like she never was able to like get very far in school. and was just kind of like left behind on a lot of things. So she just also happened to be like beautiful. One thing, that was another thing. My mom was always gorgeous, like our whole lives, right? And her whole life too. You look at pictures of her when she was a little kid, she was just like always like noticeably beautiful and like prettier than like a lot of like her peers and things like that. And I feel like that's kind of like what she got through in a lot of life was like her beauty. You know what I mean? And it was like she, so, and like my dad babied her whole life. They got together when she was really young, was just sort of babied forever. So I think she was emotionally stunted. Hey, Vanessa. What's up?
Go into your spirit and soul. I mean, if you can answer that.
I mean, I believed the adults around me, and they would use random things as evidence that I was a boy. So, for example, I was posting about my struggles with my eating disorder online, and I was so underweight that I started growing hair all over my body to regulate my body temperature, and adults told me that this was a sign that my body was fighting to be a boy.
Yeah.
What is that called? Like leguma or something, or neguma? That hair that grows. I had like an eating disorder for like a short period of time, and I remember that.
Sort of like when I was growing up, the fastest girl.
Rad Cancer, thank you, darling. Rad Cancer says, love watching your lives. Never had the courage to write a comment until now. They always put me in a good mood. Lots of love. Keep it up. Thank you, darling. And please do feel free to comment. I like hearing from you guys. Sometimes I do like snap on people. And I just know that it's like never personal. Well, sometimes it is personal. But sometimes and a lot of times it's not. So don't be afraid. I love you.
Girl could climb the biggest tree, and they said she was a tomboy. Well, she's got 8 kids now and living well. Thank you, Mr. Jim.
I love
Thank
that
you,
Southern
Representative
accent.
Schlegel.
For the young lady, I'm sorry, what is your name again?
It's Prisha.
Prisha. The counselor side is definitely coming out in me hearing your story. I just wanted to acknowledge it. I mean,
Oh yeah, Lanugo. Yeah. Thank you. You said you're a nurse, right? Good. We need that. Yeah, Lanugo. Prisha's such a pretty name too. It's like a Hindi name, isn't it? It's so pretty.
obviously experienced so much trauma, and just we are all listening to your story. And so thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
100. So right now says, I wonder if you having home births is helping you break generational curses. Did your mom give birth to you not? I think that 100%. So my mom gave birth, the era that a lot of the baby boomers gave birth, like in the 80s and 70s, were a time when they were being heavily medicated. We've now titrated epidurals. So now you have like walking epidurals. You have epidurals where you could be more like functional and feel. But before, they were medicating women so drastically that they barely were they were like non-participant in their own births. And then they were so out of it, it was difficult to establish breastfeeding, and women weren't really breastfeeding like that. And my mom always said that her proudest thing was that she decided to breastfeed for 3 months. And she considered that like full-term breastfeeding. She's like, I breastfed. I found out it was only for 3 months. And she just didn't have her mom. That was actually a big reason why I wanted to be a doula, was because my mom was not able to be what I needed her to be when I was pregnant and when I was giving birth. She would get like jealous and just kind of be petty. And I don't say this stuff to put her down. I've always had a difficult relationship with my mom, but I realized she just did not have the mental capacity to like be what I needed. My big sister was always that for me, right? My big sister was always like able to fill in wherever my mom sort of fell short. My sister is brilliant. She's a lawyer. She's a mother of 3 girls. I mean, she's so much of the glue that has kept our family as functional as it is. And it's like she was 7 years older than me, and she was always like most popular girl in school. She was like the prom queen. She was like a D1 athlete. She was the first woman in a school to score 1,000 points. So she still to this day has a basketball in the case that has her name on. She was captain of the soccer team and the basketball team. She was like a prima ballerina who was being like recruited by like all these New York ballet companies. And like, so I was really grateful to have my sister. My sister was really there for me. And I kind of like I realized that like a lot of women went through similar things where there's like a break. It's like we aren't bonding with our mothers the way that we need to. And it's causing, once like we grow up, we're not able to be what we need for our daughters. And that's why, yeah, home birth was so important to me, because it was like I wanted to be fully a part. When I started learning more about like the hormones of bonding and oxytocin and the endocrinology involved and sort of like maternal priming of the brain. And I sort of realized that there's a big missing piece, that like we act like it's this minor thing, but when you're crossing the threshold into motherhood, there's changes that have to happen. And the pain of childbirth is actually a big part of that. And people don't realize that. And our body has a way to deal with it. And it's also this sort of like, and it's a lot easier to deal with a woman who's heavily medicated and not moving through pain. A woman who's not medicated and is naturally moving through pain requires more people to gather around her and to guide her and to talk to her and to hold her and to be there for her and to apply, comfort measures. And it forces people to have to like, I was epiduralized for my first birth, and it was like, they could just leave me alone in the room for hours at a time. We just sit there and we watch the thing beep, and they tell me how far along I am, and I just take their word for it. I'm in and out of sleep. No one had to pay attention to me. Everybody could be on their phones. Everyone could be out taking a walk. When I wasn't epiduralized, when I was home, it required every single person to be fully present and with me. And I felt like that's an important part as a new mother, is learning how to allow people to take care of you and build a community around you while you do the hardest things that you need to do for your baby, right? And it's like, it just kind of creates this like sense of, look how powerful and independent I am, while also knowing how to ask for help. And I feel like those are two like just critical pieces of being able to successfully transition to motherhood. It's knowing how to build and ask for community, and know when you need it, and know when you need to be babied so that you can baby your baby, right? Like, mothers need to be mothered. And I realized that there was such a deficit, and there was such a lack of mothering mothers. And I always say, and people always focus on, oh, well, let's help the baby and do stuff for the baby. I'm like, we wouldn't need to sit here. I was like, that's the mother's job. If we actually better took care of mothers, we wouldn't have to worry so much about what babies are getting and all this other stuff, because the mother would be equipped to be diligent for her baby, and she would have the tools and the resources and the things needed to perform those services. And that we don't have to go and retroactively try to like fix things, with the baby themselves, right? If you can mother the mother, then the mother has everything that she needs to be everything that the baby needs. But the thing is, we're not mothering mothers. We're abandoning them at their most critical hour, and then wondering why they're so racked with postpartum depression and they're not bonding properly with their babies, and why these babies are growing up to be depressed children and overweight children. And it's like, no mother is like, I want to enter motherhood so I can be disconnected from my child. That's what I look forward to. It's heartbreaking, and some women and children never know how to get that relationship back on track. That's why it's critical to serve it properly from like minute one. So yeah, I mean, it's totally probably a huge part of why I did that, and why I wanted to continue to do that sort of work. Yeah, the problem is Christianity has brainwashed the world that childbirth is a curse and should be a horrific experience. Oh, I know. The pain is so important, and you realize it's not insurmountable. And I realize how terrified people are of childbirth, because we don't know what real childbirth looks like. We see the screaming and the begging for help, and then the epidural, and then it's like, oh, I can finally relax. We don't, because it's like, it's so much more work to really support a mother through something. It's so much harder to do that. But it's like the benefit is so much greater when we actually take the time to do it. All right, so I'm like always getting off track. Let's get in with this guy, Jonathan Joly. I wanted to go back to him because I just feel like it's like worth really looking at. I wanted to look at him again, and then here, let's look at a few more of these, and let's try to just analyze. I haven't watched all of his stuff, don't get it, but I figured we could watch it together. Let's see. All right, Edie. 30-second trailer for becoming your true self. Let's see. Let's do this one, I guess. pause it. Why is he putting wigs on this little boy? Imagine cross-dressing your own son as a man. Imagine cross-dressing your own son as a man. I'm sorry, what is wrong with our men? Why? And again, it's like they're saying, you know, population testosterone levels are like at an all-time critical low. And I think that there's like a few reasons for this. I think it's all the hormones that we're like pumping into meat and chicken. They also say that ever since the advent of estrogen birth control, women, when they urinate into the toilet, you flush it down, it goes to a treatment plant, and they clean the water to recycle it for drinking water. They're not able to remove all those estrogens. So it's like our drinking water is full of estrogen. There's just, I don't know. And I also think it's the whole cycle, the adage of, hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men make hard times. It's like, well, guess what, rung of the wheel we're in on that whole thing. He's grooming his son to be his victim or ideal mate. Yeah, and it's like a lot of and I want to also look at like these women who do these. Another thing I briefly did with my daughter that I'm very ashamed of is she was so cute when she was little, and my kids are biracial, and there's this like whole thing of like people super fetishizing biracial kids and like with the child modeling on Instagram. And I remember a couple people were like, oh, she's so pretty when my daughter was born, when she was like a toddler. She's so gorgeous. You got to submit her for modeling and all this stuff. So like somebody had sent me like a couple of like, entry things. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a try. Maybe I can get her, get a couple bucks that I could like put away from her or whatever. I hadn't really thought it through. And I did it, and it's like she was accepted and was like, a couple of her pictures went super viral, and they were posting them on all these little like Instagram pages that collect pictures of like cute kids. And then I was like meeting these other moms online who were all like trying to like style their kids and doing outfit of the day with like 2-year-olds. And it was like some of the stuff I was seeing, it was like so creepy. And then some of the boy moms were like making their sons look like some little like fuck boy. I'm sorry, like looking like what they want their boyfriends to look like super sexualizing them. And then the little girls were like being way, and everyone's like, oh, don't sexualize kids. There's nothing wrong with these outfits. And it's like, I kind of get that argument, but at the same time, like, no, this is too much. This is too much. It's like these kids are like props at this point, and it's weird. So I like put my stuff on private, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. And so it just reminds me of all of this. So yeah, it's I think it's the autogynephilia by proxy. I think that the dad has some autogynephilia, and I think that he's living that out through his son, right? Like, oh, I don't, he's like too embarrassed to do it, but I can do it through my son and live vicariously through him. The way that stage moms have been doing since time immemorial, the way that fathers who are obsessed with their sons being like into sports or following their dreams has been doing since time immemorial.
Here she goes, either a little too high or a little too low. The low self-esteem and vertigo. She thinks she's made of candy. Hey, oh, here she goes, either a little too loud or a little too fast for the hurricane. In the back of her throat, she thinks she's made of candy.
Oh yeah, you guys are talking about ketamine. I'd be interested to do a whole live chat on like alternative. I was really big on psilocybin. Psilocybin, which is like the active ingredient in like magic mushrooms, really, really changed my life when I was getting off of, like when I was like healed from cancer and trying to heal from all of those experiences, like, leaving my husband and coming off cancer. And I started doing like psilocybin, like, my own little therapy. And it really, and especially after my nephew passed away, oh, it really changed my life. And yeah, I told you, I did my whole Benjamin, anybody who's watched my Benjamin voice video, I was totally tripping balls. I was tripping balls off like 1/8 of like penis envy mushrooms. And it was great. I also talked about how I was tripping balls when I did the Posey Parker speech, which like probably was less legit because I was like being a little loopy doopy. But yeah. I know I did Rex. I hate to say it, and I like didn't want to say it, but since you said it, I did notice the hairline on him. Like he's definitely probably his and why is the dad always like touching on him and stuff? It's like creepy. Hey Rex.
Here she goes, either a little too high or a little too low. Got no self-esteem and vertigo. She thinks she's made of candy. Hey, oh, here she goes, either a little too loud or a little too close. Got a hurricane in the back of her throat. She thinks she's made of candy.
Oh yeah. So Rebecca Van Tassel says, oh no, you were saying, I think before that a lot of it's from like industrial agricultural runoff, which I'm so sure is true. So Rebecca Van Tassel says exposure to estrogens in drinking water is about 150 times lower than exposure from cow's milk. I haven't drank cow's milk since high school when I had read this like disgusting like I think research paper about what's in cow's milk, like the pus and the hormones, and I can't. I like will throw up now. I like I every time I order, I always order a caramel macchiato. That's like my favorite like coffee drink. And every once in a while they'll make a mistake. I always ask for oat milk. Every once in a while they'll make a mistake and add cow's milk, and I can immediately tell. And I'm like, bleh! Like I can't. And like luckily my son is super lactose intolerant, so like none of the kids drink it either. Ew, cow's milk. Ask anybody like in my life. They know I'm like so crazy about how disgusted I am by cow's milk. I know. Oh, thank you. Ann Beamer says, if you want to turf out while you're tripping, I do recommend Brittany's older videos because she used quite trippy production. I know. I like miss doing. I was thinking about it. I've been so lazy. I keep doing live streams because they're so much easier. But I used to only make like pre-done videos and clips and stuff. I gotta get back into it. It's hard. It's like it's so much easier once you're used to like a sort of production routine, you know. And since I got out of it, I got like lazy with it. But I do miss like actually making videos. It sucks because I always did it off of my phone, and that can like give me a headache. I need to get some actual like stuff for my computer. Mushrooms, K, and LSD have great mental health possibilities. Oh, I totally agree. And I think it's my best friend of all time. And shout out to Marielle. Oh, my best friend Marielle. We've been best friends since like kindergarten. We've been through so much together. I mean, she's the godmother of my children and, well, one of my kids. My sister's a godmother of my others. And I love her, and I'm so grateful for her. And she, what was I going to say? She is going to get her PhD, I think her doctorate right now in like exploratory, like, or what is it, psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. So that's, she wants to be like somebody who does that sort of stuff, who like does like the psychotherapy side of like, you know, LSD and like psilocybin and like I guess ketamine assisted you know, like mental health stuff, which is so cool. I was like, bro, like I will be your first client. Like, cause you know what I mean? I'm down. I'm down. And I did ayahuasca when I was in Peru. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. Ketamine scares me a little bit more, I think. I don't know. I gotta look into that one more. That one, I've been trying to find LSD for forever. Shrooms, I can literally buy over the counter over in Jersey, so I just usually drive down there. I used to get them off the deep net, actually. I used to get like a fucking, I mean, allegedly. I mean, somebody I know who looks just like me, he used to order them off the deep web. And I get it like $80, I'd get like a, I'd get an ounce of penis envy for $80. And it was badass. All right, anyway. Okay.
I am your mother. You listen to me. Stop all the mansplaining. No one's listening. Tell me who gave you permission to speak.
If you haven't done psilocybin, I would start with shrooms personally. Other people might disagree and have other suggestions. I would say start with shrooms and microdose. Put some in your tea. Don't go anywhere. Be with somebody who you're very comfortable with and who knows what you're doing, and who would, even better if they want to do a little bit with you so that they kind of understand where you're going through, or somebody who is experienced, or maybe get two people, one person who's not on it, one person be on it a little bit, but people who you're very comfortable with and in a very comfortable environment that you, and always, I always say it's like your physical comfort becomes so important. So you want to wear comfortable clothes. You want nothing you have to do for that day. Have a day where you have a fully clear schedule all day and all night, right? And you don't have to wake up and do anything like major the next day. And it's like if you have kids, a weekend when they're like, staying with your parents or whoever. And you don't have to, like, there's no risk of you having to like spring into action. Start early. Make sure you have a lot of like nice foods around you. And start like at a really low dose. Start at a low dose, and then you can always add a little bit more and then do it again another time, right? But I used to do where, I was dosing low enough where I would literally just dose and then go function, and I would be around other parents and stuff like that. You got to get used enough to be able to actually go out in public. You have to be, I was doing it plenty. So I was totally like in command. It wouldn't freak me out. I always knew when the onset would happen and what to expect. And it's like I knew that people don't know that I'm on it, so I don't need to act weird or, be nervous that they do. Just be myself. And it was, yeah, it's fine. I've had a few moments, I've had some kind of like dark trips, but those are necessary. But like that's, I feel like, more as you get more experienced and you have somebody who can be with you, and you can start delving into some stuff that like you really need to deal with. But it really helped me deal with the death of my nephew. I mean, man, I cried about that so much. Every time I would trip my ex-husband, my boyfriend would know that was always like a theme that would always come up for a while, was I would have to go through this whole thing just of talking about and thinking about and really like feeling my grief of losing my nephew. And it was like, I don't know that if I would have been able to have been as like successful in like processing some of that, had I not like gone through that. It's just so sad. So sad. All right. Let's see. Oh wait, did we do this one yet? Oh, sorry.
I am your mother. You listen to me. Stop all the mansplaining. No one's listening. Tell me who gave you the permission to speak. I am your mother. You listen to me. I am your.
Like, what is the point? Why couldn't he have just been a boy who did this? He does not look like a girl. And I'm sorry, he's not an attractive girl. And so, again, it's like he's already kind of starting off, not off to a great start, like looks-wise. So now he's going to want to do a whole bunch of interventions because he's been so programmed to think that he needs to look a certain way. It's so silly. It's like, oh, my son wanted to wear a dress, so we went and got him castrated. Like, bro, huh? Whoa, slow down. Like, it's not necessary. Let's see what the comments are saying. Lost Bean says, I'm pretty sure when I was that age, I legit thought I was a werewolf based. My nephew asked why he can't be a dragon last week. Should his parents stitch wings and a tail on him and tell him he can breathe fire if he just... So I really think that none of these comments would have ever gotten away on TikTok like a year ago. I really think that Elon Musk's decision to acquire Twitter has really changed the game for what other platforms realize that they have to allow, because people were starting to really push back. People were really getting, to the point where they were building a whole, we built Rumble because of censorship on YouTube. We built Getter because of censorship on Twitter. We bought out Twitter because of censorship on Twitter. The pushback was growing formidable. So, yeah. Kathy Christoph Manna says, my daughter asked to be a boy at 4. I let her. By 9th grade, she was in heels and dresses. Let puberty work. Exactly. These kids don't understand the significance of any of this. All he knows is that he's getting a lot of money, time, access, attention from his father, attention from strangers, and he's getting to go on all these special trips and be the focus of his father's thing, especially, when there's 4 kids. It's like all the kids are always vying for the attention. You know what I mean? And it's like, they love being like the special one for the day. That's why I always try to make a point to like spend individual time with each one of the kids so they can each be special for a little bit. And it's like, man, he found the fast track to getting all the attention. I always wanted to be a lion, but my parents never took me to lion therapy. It's literally just therapy to help her process the things she is feeling, not hormones or anything permanent. Can y'all chill out? But that's where it starts. Once you start, that's why this whole thing where schools will socially transition kids behind parents' backs is so dangerous, because that alone already puts kids at a much higher likelihood of medicalizing. Yeah, Mandy says, a trip to the toy store for going to a medical appointment. Positive reinforcement to tell a doctor you are a girl. Such a good point. There's so many other reinforcing factors surrounding this. Yeah, all the positivity lathered on. I'd love to hear the language of what they talk about in these, like I want to hear more of the one kid. Let's see.
This season on I'm Jazz.
Listen to Jack.
The kids who were transitioning. Hold on, let's see. Trans kid documentary. Like, it's really illuminating when you listen to how parents discuss this in front of their kids. Like, let's look at this one really quick.
So how do you say a secret that you want to be?
Yeah, but you know what my son or my daughter was for like
recordings just got that.
For like 3 Halloweens straight. And I mean,
hey, it's Dana.
Would not agree to wear any other costume. She was a squid. Literally. My daughter was a squid from the time she was like 3 to like 5. Refused to wear any other Halloween costume than this squid costume. It was really cute and like random. And it was the same thing. My one daughter was real girly, and then my other one, she liked all like the boy Paw Patrols. I'm like, she likes Marshall. Well, then I don't know. What if she's a boy? Like, bro, stop it. She just liked the fucking Dalmatian. You know what I mean? Like, chill out. Oh, Desmond. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, no, yeah, Desmond met up with the party monster dude. What's his name? Not James St. James, but yeah. What's his name? The club kids. I know, the club kids. Ugh. Scary.
7-year-olds Paddy and George have something in common. They're both transgender.
They're not some circus freaks. They're normal children who are born with their own plumbing.
What if your parent always was saying things like, my kid's not a circus freak. He's not a creep. Treat him like a person. You're like, oh, wait, why was that in question? Do people think I'm a freak? It's like that sort of language is very leading. And again, that's how these kids end up being these like professional victims, because they've been told their whole lives, like, you are perfect the way you are. You don't let people tell you that you're a freak. It's like even though they're saying it's supposed to be positive, it's like like the friend who always runs up to you to tell you what some other friend said behind your back, and they're like trying to do it under the guise of being like a supportive, good friend. And you're like, bro, why do I need to hear all this stuff? It's just bringing me down. It's negative, and it's stuff that I would have never heard or thought about if it wasn't for you running to me with it every 5 seconds. It's one thing if it's like a need to know sort of thing, but it's like, what do you want me to do with this information? You know what I mean? And it's like, so you're kind of like, yeah, like, you're calling him a freak. You're saying he's a weirdo. He wants to wear his dress, and you say he looks like a fucking, like, like slur. He's not like some, like, weird, like like parasite, he's a human, and the kid's just like, yeah, like, oh, is this what people think? Like, what the fuck, you know? Happy New Year, Gina.
Today, kids as young as 3 are saying they were born the wrong gender.
Are you a boy or
Yeah, what is being born with the exactly, Miss Misery Gloom? What does being born with the wrong plumbing mean? What does that mean? What, his like urethra is not right? He has like urethra dysphoria. He needs a shorter urethra. She needs a longer urethra. Like, whoa, what does that mean, sir? Have you thought that through?
a girl?
Boy, because I want to be a boy.
But what do you do when your perfect baby girl wants to be a little boy?
Go in there, otherwise I'll kill you.
George hates being identified as a twin because he associates being a twin as being a girl.
Or your youngest son wants to be daddy's little princess.
He just brings little baby home. Little boy, imagine kicking football with him. It just takes time to readjust.
These weak, effeminate fathers. These weak, pathetic men. Stand up for your son. Stop, get off the couch. Clean yourself up and protect your son, sir. I don't know, it's just so hard to get my mind around it. Ew. Daddy's little princess, my son, ew.
Just your expectations.
2 families are keen to come out of the shadows to show the world what it's really like for thousands like them. Too scared.
That's interesting. Right now says, have you noticed that the trans kid in the family tends to be the youngest? Yeah, and I think it's this idea of, like somebody else said in the last stream, like with Jazz Jennings, it's like the parents have realized, oh no, this is the last kid, and I probably not gonna have more children or whatever, and I want this to be my forever baby. I want this to be my forever baby who will always be dependent on me. And my mom did that to me. My mom, and it's like the more that I kind of like reflect on my own life, I was the youngest. My brother and sister were a lot older. My mom really wanted more kids. My dad was like, I feel like we're good. She convinced him to have one more and had me, and then like was smothered me and really, I think, tried to cripple me. Like, so that she used to always tell me growing up that I can't do things on my own and I need her. And if I don't have her, I'm going to fall apart. And I remember, thank God, like I had like, I was like a bright kid. I was in like a lot of like gifted programs and stuff like that. And I just rebelled against that like early on. And it's like, no offense, but I was always like, my mom had a lot of like learning disabilities and stuff. So like, it was like kind of like easy for me to like kind of surpass her intellectually. I don't mean to, I know it sounds bad, but like, you know what I mean? Where I could kind of see like that she was just manipulative, and I was like able to kind of like rationalize out of that. My dad was great. My brother and sister, my sister was great. So like that helped me a lot, and realized that like what she was doing to me was like not okay. It wasn't normal and it wasn't true. But like, but she was successful to some extent, and like, trying to like cripple me, and like I had to like learn things later on in life that I should have, done. And it's like, yeah. Voluntarism is the answer. That Shanann Watts that was murdered with her kids was Munchausen-y and kept her one daughter with boy's hair, called the other one her boy. I'm convinced that if she had lived, she would have gone full Transhausen. Yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff they talk about, like Shanann Watts. I hear so many different angles on her, though. Like, some are saying that, like, I don't know. It's still, I don't care. That was such just evil and sadistic and horrific. There's nothing a mother could. You go and you fight her in court. You don't murder your daughters in front of each other and then dump them in a vat somewhere. That's still.
To speak openly.
Would you like to be a girl all the time?
Yeah, I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah, Mandy says, isn't there a theory that younger sons are more likely to be gay? Something to Especially, I think it's younger sons when you have multiple sons. The more sons you have, the more likely the younger ones are to be homosexual. Yeah, and I think homosexuality, especially with males, has a lot to do with the like prenatal uterine environment and the mother's hormones, stuff like that. We should definitely like take a stream and explore that more.
These families are the pioneers, telling their stories, seeking acceptance, and desperately looking for support wherever they can find it.
I was like you when I was younger. I was born a girl, and now I'm a boy.
Ew. So creepy.
Think about a child.
I was born a girl. Now I'm a boy. Like, ew.
I don't like lizards. I haven't been a teenager for that long, and I'm experiencing new things every single day. I want people to support me just like any other girl. You know, most of the people already know she's transgender, but in high school, they're going to be gunning for her.
People don't care about your feelings at all. We should invite some boys.
Yeah, I don't know. Boys are always flirting with my friends. I'm just being ignored, and it hurts. You know how a lot of the other boys didn't come?
Yeah.
Do you think it's because I'm transgender? I just don't know.
That's the thing, when you keep lying to these kids, that's why they have to deal with the truth at some point. You know, you artificially protect these kids, you know, their like self-esteem or whatever. And it's like, yeah, Jazz, you know, unfortunately, most men are heterosexual. And the ones who are not heterosexual, they're mostly homosexual. And in either case, they either want a man or a woman. They don't want a gyneandromorph. And unfortunately, the types of men who would be interested in you are not desirable men. They're really not good guys. So it's like you're just setting your son up for this like painful, difficult. He could have just been a gay man. He could have just been a gay man and been happy like that. Or bisexual or whatever, because I heard that they even said that he might be bisexual, right? It's just like
What to do? I just know there's going to be more of this.
When people don't understand something, they're scared of it. At last check, male puberty was completely suppressed, but the current implant is no longer being effective.
Scary. Because to me, the hormones aren't saving her life. I'm just so stressed.
she said it's scary. Jeanette says that it's scary. Again, they always like, it's always leading with the, oh no, it's a disaster. Oh, the horror, you know, is the way that they frame the conversation around this child's puberty as if, oh, it's this, we got to do whatever we can to keep it at bay, as if it's like this invader who's coming and threatening and looming over to wreck his life. Had they let that child go through a little bit of puberty, even if they had even let him go through just a little more, had more exposure to androgens, it could have changed so much for him. He could have at least been able to experience some semblance of an orgasm, even with the inverted penis. But it's like, no, they wrecked this kid, wrecked it. His brain could have gotten some priming. It's so sad.
Self, I don't know how to deal with it. I want Jazz to be happy.
Oh my God! Kate 80 says John Joly says he has an alter ego, a woman inside of him called Giselle. Bro, I called it. Mandy, I need my apology. I called it. It's autogynephilia by proxy. I'm telling you. It's such a... Let's really quick look at gyne. I want to show you guys some of the literature on gyneandromorphophile. Gyneandromorphophilia. Because I think it's really important to fully understand this. So gyneandromorphophilia, or GAMP. So anytime I'm like, yeah, it's giving GAMP, it's usually like dudes who come on my channel to like defend trans-identifying males, right? And it's usually because they're sexually interested in these dudes. Gyneandromorphophilia, GAMP, an attraction to gyneandromorphs, GAMS. Again, so break down the word, right? So if it's like hard to remember, the way it helps me, think of it. So gyne, anytime you hear the word gyne, think of like OBGYN or gynecology, gynecologist, gyne, vagina, gyne. That's female, right? Female. Okay. So gyne, so female, and then andro. So think of androgen or android pelvis, male, andro. So testosterone is an androgen, which is a male hormone. So gyne, female, andro, male. Gyne, andro, male, female. And then morph, you have morph, which is shape. So gyne, female, shape. Male, female, shape. So it's a person who is the shape of a male and a female. And then phile, phophilia. Aphilia is a sexual or romantic preoccupation with something, attraction to something, right? So philia. So yeah. So it's so when we're talking about gyneandromorphophilia or gyneandromorphophiles, we're talking about men who are attracted to males who have female secondary sex characteristics. So it's like a mix of both. Okay, again, this is a very specific target fetish. This is a paraphilia. So, all right, so gyneandromorphophilia, GAMP, is an attraction to gyneandromorphs, GAMs, who are natal males with both breasts and a penis, colloquially known as she-males. Men with GAM, N314, and heterosexual men not attracted to GAMs completed an internet survey regarding their sexual attraction patterns or relationships. Let's see. All right, let's just, this is important because I think it also explains a lot of the, especially these fathers, men like Jonathan Joly, and I think that this really helps give light on why it is he's doing what he's doing to his son and how it's like a manifestation of his own gyneandromorphophilia. And again, autogynephilia. So who are gyneandromorphophilic men? Characterizing men with sexual interest in transgender women. This is in 2016, so like right when the whole craze was really ramping up. Abstract background. Gyneandromorphophilia, GAMP, is a sexual interest in gyneandromorphophiles, she-males, trans women. GAMPs possess a combination of male and female physical characteristics. Thus, GAMP presents a challenge to conventional understandings of sexual orientation as sexual attraction to the male versus female form. Speculation about GAMP men has included ideas that they are homosexual, heterosexual, or especially bisexual. I think that they're bisexual. They're not heterosexual. Heterosexual men are not attracted to men with penises. Now, people always try to use the example that, oh, they've showed photos of trans-identified males to heterosexual men, and heterosexual men had a sexual response. So they usually like, it's like their penis, they like measure if their penis gets hard or whatever. And it's like, of course, because again, just because he logically might, know that that's a man or whatever, you're still seeing this very pornified version of a man who's cross-dressing as a woman. And if he's doing it convincingly, your brain is still processing that as a woman. Just because these men have access to these like elaborate surgical and, pharmacological interventions and techniques to create an illusion, that's all that it is. It's an illusion, right? It's the same way that when you stare at those things that have all the dots and the dots look like they're moving, the dots aren't actually moving, but your brain is going to interpret that because that's just what it sees. It's an abstract illusion. It's a lot like cuddle fishing, where again, it's like the male cuttlefish is able to be treated as though he's a female cuttlefish because he's looking like one, and the other cuttlefish's brains are interpreting him as one when they look at him visually. It's like not hard. Doesn't mean that they're actually, heterosexual. They're not. Method. We compared genital and subjective sexual arousal patterns of GAMP men with those of heterosexual and homosexual men. We also compared these groups on self-ratings on sexual orientation and sexual interests. Results. GAMP men had arousal patterns similar to those of, so Gigi says, hot take, most men are GAMPs. They hate women and are only attracted to femininity, which is really just artificial, intensified vulnerability. I disagree. I think that men who are heavily attracted to pornography and who have like just perverted sexuality, yeah. I think that there's men with healthy sexualities though. And yeah. I think that you're correct in the sense that any man can be kind of like groomed into being interested in these men via pornography exposure. I think the pornography exposure can have a really strong influence on our sexual arousal patterns that would not have otherwise been the case. But there are healthy men out there, believe it or not. I know some like really phenomenal men, and yeah. So, but I also know, unfortunately, because of, it seems that way because of how ubiquitous online porn is and how easy it is to access. So we have such a crisis right now of like porn saturated men, and it is just destroying men. And again, you have to understand, we're getting to the point where we have men who are having more sexual contact with images on a screen. So they're basically having sex with, themselves while they watch porn more often than they're actually having the opportunity to interact with a real woman in real life. Think how much that skews your sexuality and your brain and your sort of pleasure and your arousal system. Right? When it's like, and again, it's an overexposure. So it's like you get like men who are locked up for long periods of time. It's like this, one guy I know who had been locked up forever, and it was like he used to get so turned on by like the tiniest things that I would do. Tiniest things that he would see as like feminine and like beautiful. And I used to think it was like so like amusing, because it's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like this littlest amount of like skin and, like your wrists and stuff like that. He was like the color of your skin. He was just so amazed by all of it because he had been so disconnected from women and certainly had no porn access. So he'd only been around men for such a long time. You know what I mean? And I think that that's what happens. It's like the opposite happens where we become so oversaturated with porn, where it's an otherwise beautiful woman who any man in his right mind would be like in awe of. It's like it doesn't even process to them. They're so oversaturated. Yeah. All right, so let's see. Results. Men had arousal patterns similar to those of heterosexual men and different from those of homosexual men. And again, that goes to show why, you're setting your son like Jazz and this other kid, Edie, up for such a lifetime of pain, because it's heterosexual men really they don't actually want these guys. Just because their brain is responding to what looks like female stimulus and stimuli doesn't mean that when like they have time to actually process and think about it, they're going to be like, oh, I actually want to go be with this man. They're like, no, it looks like a woman. So my brain and my body is responding it to as a woman. And we all know that these trans-identified males, they're not picking the like library look. It's always this like pornified, hentai anime look. So it's like super over-sexualized to begin with. And yeah, homosexual men are not going to be looking at these men and be like, oh, well, that's what I want because they look like women. So it's like, unfortunately, both groups of men you end up losing out on. Yeah, Ann Beamer says they can't come in a woman. They have to finish themselves off. Any man who has to masturbate while he's in a relationship with you, get out of there. Get out of there. Any man who is not like so tantalized by you like slipping your hands like, under his shirt, get out of there. You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to like whisper in his ear and see like goosebumps come up on his arms. If it just doesn't connect, he's probably porn saturated and it's not your problem, and get the hell out of there for real. Susie Glucksman says, who the hell did this study? Shouldn't we be curing cancer instead of analyzing male sexuality? No, first things first, Susie. First things first. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, I know. Like Exelanzic and I were laughing about how ridiculous is how much attention. And that's why these stupid academic organizations like GenSpect are such quackery, because they're trying to make it seem like, oh, it's all this like rigorous science. It's like, bro, nobody needs this. Stop it. It's like you all just want to justify being perverts and like try to make it seem like it's this like intellectual thing when it's not. It's just men who have too much access to too much stuff and not enough people there to tell them no. GAMP men had arousal patterns similar to those of heterosexual men and different from those of homosexual men. However, compared to heterosexual men, GAMP men were relatively more aroused by gamma erotic stimuli than female erotic stimuli. Yeah, of course. GAMP men, so they're not really heterosexual because heterosexual men are turned on by, so they're like they're like their own thing. GAMP men also scored higher than both heterosexual and homosexual men on a measure of autogynephilia. This is the important part right here. GAMP men also scored higher than both heterosexual and homosexual men on a measure of autogynephilia, which means that men who are attracted to trans-identified males typically have their own internalized autogynephilia. And you have to understand, not every man actually acts on his autogynephilia to the point where he's got to like role play every single day of his life. Right? It could just be like kind of like, you know, when he's aroused or he's at home behind closed doors or, you know, wearing little things when he's having sex. So that's what I totally see in Edie's father and the Jonathan Joly thing. I absolutely see that he has like his own predisposition to autogynephilia, which somebody already confirmed in the chat. And he's also now partaking in autogynephilia by proxy, by like projecting this onto his son, much like GAMPs do. GAMPs have their own autogynephilia, so they seek out other men with autogynephilia, and I feel like it's almost like living vicariously through that and getting aroused vicariously through the other man who is actually like living out a fetish that they both have, which I think is very interesting. Let's see if there's anything else. Let's see. Patterns and we got to go through this. We'll go through this in another time. But that I thought was important. Yeah, I told my boyfriend early on, I was like, I'm not into men who watch porn. I'm just letting you know.
No, your mom don't get it, and your dad don't get it, Uncle John don't get it. And you can't tell grandma cause her heart can't take it and she might not make it.
Bro, what?
They say don't dare, don't you even go.
Well, how sad is this kid? I never see this kid fresh-faced, right? So this kid probably gets so distorted and doesn't know how to look at himself. Not only that, they use filters, video filters on the kids every time. So when the kid probably comes out of the shower and is just bare-faced, no filter, looking in the mirror, he's probably like, it's going to start building up this sense of like not being happy because it's like, no, I want to look when I, you know, have this augmented appearance that has been so, you know, shoved down my throat. And it's like, no, we got to teach children to love their reflection and love who they are before. That's why it's so important not to allow kids to get into makeup and doing all that shit early, because they need to develop this confidence of being out in the world with their own face, their own hair, their own. It's like these moms who like put like weave in their kids' heads. Bro, stop that now. Like, ew. You know what I mean? It's like, no, stop. Or like wigs or like lace fronts. There was this thing where like some moms were putting lace front wigs on their little girls. It's like, it's so sad. And then you wonder why some women can't be out in public without either like a bonnet on or a fucking wig. You know, and same thing with makeup and stuff like that. You know, these kids have to develop a love for their face. But no, we got to make sure that he's got like full drag gear on. Like, this kid is being taught to love everything that he's not. He's being taught to change everything that he is. What does this do to a child's sense of self?
Go there, cutting off your long hair, you do as you're told. Till you wake up, go put on your makeup. This is just a phase you're gonna outgrow.
I'm a girl.
There's something wrong in the village, No, your mom don't get it, and your dad
Why do
don't
we have
get
to
it.
see
Uncle John don't
this
get
dad like smiling and like touching on this child every single time? It's like the touching, I know. It's like, but it's not even like God. Who are you talking about? What host? All right.
What you looking for? We got what you looking for. What you looking for? We got what you looking for. What you looking for? We got what you looking for. What you looking for? We got what you looking for.
I know, already starting
What you looking for?
with the like coquettish like act. No, you're so right, Susie. The like flirting with the camera and just doing so much. It's just sad. It's like, imagine like I'm so glad I didn't grow up with social media. And it's like, just imagine like having that much awareness of like what your face is looking like. And like sometimes like, it's like I have to check myself because like sometimes I'll just be making these like raw faces when I'm like on screen with you guys. And I'm like, I gotta like try to like, let me not be gross, you know, like let me like tighten up a little bit. But it's like, I'm a 35-year-old woman, right? And it's like these children who are just developing, like you've got it, they don't even have a sense of self yet or comfort in who they are. And you're already teaching them that everything that they are is wrong and that they need to perform to be their true, authentic self. How stressful and exhausting. Beth?
Cause if you don't want me, then you're not the one. Cause if you don't want me, then you're not the one. Cause if you don't want me, then you're not the one. Cause if you don't want me, then you're not the one.
Sorry. I didn't mean to leave that on loop. It's like unbearable. My boyfriend just got home. All right, let's see. Love. Everybody said you should come on the stream. Wow. They all said that yes. All right, let's see. My daughter's Edie, first year, full years living. What does living as a girl mean? What does it mean?
And with that, the 2022 season comes to an end. Good night.
Crush a bit, little bit, roll it up, take a hit, feeling lit, feeling right, 2 a.m. summer night, I don't care, hand on the wheel, driving drunk, I'm doing my thing, rolling the mid beside him now, living my life, getting out dreams.
And with that, the 2022 season comes to an end.
Again, look
Good
how
night.
much this is all about, like the dad's identity. Proud trans dad. It's like whenever they put the kids in these like these t-shirts that say like I'm the scary transgender person the media warned you about, and it's like you're putting that on a child where it's like, yeah, people hate you and you got to fight for your right to exist and they want you to erase you and everyone's scared of you. Who's like, why are you putting this in a child's head? I know, Fluff, they said you should come on the stream because everybody loves you. Fluff. I think he went upstairs. Fluff. One day. He's working up to it. I'll get him on the stream. We're like opposites. Like opposites. I'm like the one who talks, obviously. Alright. It's like unbearable. It's unbearable. I want to hear more of them like talking. Hi, my name is Edie.
Hi, my name is Edie. Being Edie is what I do. And if you have a blue stop, then who the F are you? Hi, my
Again,
name is
this
Edie.
whole
Being
thing.
Edie is what I do.
Shut up.
And if you
This whole thing of like, if you got a problem with me, you're already like gearing this kid up to be on the defensive all the time. Transphobic, you only doing because you're transphobic. If you got a problem with me living my truth, it's like nobody who's truly living their truth has to constantly like confirm that I'm living my truth. I'm living my truth. This is me authentic. Hey guys, you notice how authentic I'm being? I'm being authentic. And it's like, my God, yeah, library trips for children should come back again. You know what? When I grew up, the library near me during the summertime used to have this thing where, what was it? You could get like a prize if you read a certain amount of books and you were like competing with other kids to see who could read the most books. I used to always smash that. Bro, I used to be so competitive about the little like library book like reading competitions. I was like, no kid is gonna fuck with me this year. And I would like just dominate. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what I look forward to. It's like, what, can we do that again? Like, fuck. Yeah, this is sad. Oh God, here we go.
I got my first fan mail.
Your first fan mail?
Yeah.
He loves putting this little boy in crop tops. Look at this creep in the background. He loves putting this little boy in crop tops. My Lord, this little boy is not an attractive girl. I'm not an attractive girl. They are pimps. And so are the moms. You know, they're both sick, and it's just for different reasons. I know, Vanessa. I feel like you and I would have been such good friends growing up.
To Edie, just to say I'm very proud for you being your true self.
Okay, thank you.
I watch your video clips on your dad's page, and the way you deal with the haters makes me chuckle.
You hear it?
Go you!
The way you deal with the haters. Why is the onus on it? Why is this child... First of all, I feel like if you use a child, I think YouTube now has a thing where if you like use a child in any of your work that you're not allowed to have the comments section on. And I think that that's how it should be on TikTok everywhere. You should not be allowed to have the comments section on. Why would you expose your child to this sort of thing? My son wanted to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, bro, if you do, like, I gotta really be involved in like keeping an eye on it, and I don't want you showing your face. It could be like if you want to have like talking or whatever, but I was like, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about you having a comment section, because I was like, listen, I have a YouTube channel. I can tell you, you've got to have a strong sense of self, because some people are miserable and are just going to try to tear you down for no reason. And I don't want you dealing with that. It's not, you know, I don't want you internalizing some of the stuff that some of these scumbags say. It's just not good for you. You know, when you're older and you're able to sort of deflect that sort of stuff, sure. But like, I was like, you know, if you do it, I don't want a comment section. I want that all disabled. I don't want your face or your name, obviously, anywhere. You can like use your voice or whatever. Do like a gaming channel or something. But I don't know. Maybe.
I think it's great you humor them. Sending you big hugs and lots of spankies.
Sparkles.
To the dad.
Spankies. Sparkles, not spankies. Well, thank you so much from Hannah.
Thank you. Bye.
Ew.
I got my first
Stop
fan mail.
grabbing this child.
Yeah, look what it says. To Edie, just to say I'm very proud for you being your true self.
Okay, thank you.
I watch your video clips on your dad's page, and the way you deal with the haters makes me chuckle. Go you! I think it's great you humor them.
The way you deal with the haters. Let's see, like, I want to see, hold on, Jonathan Joly. Gender identity. Well, let's see what this is. Why is Sky News, I thought, was like, again. Oh, I thought Sky News was like on our side, but maybe, let's see. I don't want facial hair. Transgender girl 8 has sleepless nights about growing up as a boy, and I wonder who gave him all that stress, right? Is that a normal thing that an 8-year-old worries about, or is that something that's been like imposed by parents? Scott Bridge says these parents are violating federal anti-child pornography laws. They need to be arrested, tried in federal court, and sent to federal prison. I real quick, I want to show you some of like what is it, like cutie patooties, or what was it called, cutie pie or smoothie pie Instagram. Let me show you what some of these parents are doing on Instagram. Why is it not working? Yeah, like some of these like picture, like these like kids Instagrams. It's smoothie pie, right? I don't even know what that means. All right, let's see. It's like, or like the ones where they like, it's like all the like cute mixed kids where it's like they're totally. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, pretty mixed kid. Ew, hold on. It's like these weird things where they like super fetishize mixed kids, and they like post all these like weird, and they say like what the kids like nationality is and stuff like that. Instagram mixed kids. Yeah, beautiful mixed kid. Bro, some of these are gonna gross you out. Like what the oh, come on. Here, hold on for 1 second. Let me just, I'll log in. I just don't want you guys to see my thing. Come on. Sorry. Yeah, I'll play something while I'm trying to figure this out. Oh, everything's being slow. My bad. Oh, Susie, you're from the Bahamas? Oh, that's what's up. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Jealous. Aw, Ann Beamer says, when Britt said about her sons thinking breasts are for feeding babies before anything else, I was so moved by it. Yeah, you know, and it was really beautiful for me too when I realized that like I had been successful in that. When I think my son, he saw like some like I think like Victoria's Secret billboard or something, and she was wearing like a push-up bra, and he was like pointing at it, and he was like, that's milky, and it was like that because that's just what he like knew that like, you know, women's breasts were for, you know what I mean? It's like the sexual component hadn't even entered his world yet, and I was really grateful for that, you know. Come on, fucking just whatever, we'll just look for more of this clown. Why is my internet being slow? I'm sorry, you guys. It's just annoying. The whole thing is just frozen. Yeah. Let's see. When children are sterilized, society will be gone. Yes, yes, yes. That is accurate and scary. Let's see. They're called mammary glands. What? They're called breasts, tits, boobies. You know, I don't know. That stuff doesn't bother me. Edward doesn't want to look like his dad. And somebody was saying that, yeah, I think I mentioned it before, but someone was saying that Eduardo, who's like the boy's real name, was like the mother's father's name's like the grandfather's name. It's sad. Mandy says, Ann Beamer, didn't they find in the UK kids at gender clinics were more likely to come from care backgrounds too? Tragic. It's not a coincidence. Well, and if you guys remember, if anybody, you guys had watched my interview with Richard Anamene, he said that they got to him while he was homeless. And they started off by he said he was homeless, his family, he's like the child of African immigrants, like Nigerian immigrants. And his dad was very abusive, and all of his family was back in Africa, like his extended family. So he got away from his dad, and like his parent or his brothers were also abusive. So he didn't have a lot, and it said his mom was very just mentally ill and weak. And he was like, I didn't have any support network. And I was homeless for a while. And I was out, of course, in San Francisco, like ground zero from hell. And they like got a hold of him with all these charity organizations. And they thought it was just like homeless outreach. But it was really these like LGBTQ. And they started to they hooked him up with, an apartment and access to, a bunch of services. And then it was like, then they got him into the community and they got him a therapist. And then he said, that's when they started to really, it was almost like, it was almost like proselytizing to him. It was like trying to convert him. Like some of these like Christian missionaries will do and go try to have you heard about the gospel of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and like, we're talking to him about like being trans, and he that was his whole lifeline. And it's like these kids, it's interesting how it's always vulnerable kids and adults who need help and support. Oh, hold on. Who happen to, get it from somebody who's super pushing them towards this. It's never somebody who's fully in their power. Unless it is and they're using it for more power. Let's see. Hold on. Come on. Why? My Instagram is not going to load. And of fucking course, neither is this. Let me see if I can just get a new window going. Let's see. Jonathan. I feel like I didn't spend enough time on Jonathan Joly. Fuck. Why is my internet so slow? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Do. Alrighty. Damn it, I can't. Sorry guys, my internet is just not functioning. Come on. Okay, let me try, I'll try my Safari. The sister might be a better turn. Let's see, what was Brittany saying? Hold on. Whoops. Hold on. I don't know, where are you referring to? I don't see. I don't think Scott Nugent is considered detrans. Scott is still taking testosterone. Yeah. Well, then she's not. I don't know why. That's what worries me about some of these detransitioners, and especially these ones who are not really living what they're saying. And it's again, I think there's a lot of addiction issues and things like that. And it's kind of like somebody who's in active addiction or active alcoholism. And it's they get why it's bad and they don't want other people to get involved in what they're doing, but they don't want to stop because they're just so addicted. And that could be what it is. But at the same time, if these people are still active, there's a reason why people who are active in their addiction are not allowed to be what is it, mentors or whatever for Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, or what is the term for it? They have sponsor. You have to be well within your recovery for years and years and years, and very stable and solid in your recovery before they let you be a sponsor. And that's because of you're working with such a fragile population. Why would we allow somebody who's still active in their addiction and their connection to trans be mentoring other people about how to deal with the trans issue when they haven't even figured out how to deal with it in their own lives, right? And if the, again, and then it makes you wonder what their motivations are. Are their motivations as pure? Are they using this rhetoric for some ulterior motive? If they haven't even applied it in their own life, and people are going to look at what people do and not just what they say. So that's why we should not be using these true trans people. We should not be using anybody who's still actively acting out in their addiction as a voice for, you know, the gender critical stuff, unless it's like unless it's very well moderated by somebody who's able to kind of help us walk through what we're hearing from that person, where it's like being filtered, you know. But they shouldn't just have free reign to like decide what the rhetoric should be and all this sort of stuff, because they're in no position, period. They're in no position to be guiding legislation. They're in no position to be guiding policy or you know, like for other people to be like, I've had so many people be like, you know, Buck Angel's an inspiration for me. My daughter wanted to, you know, transition and Buck's been really supporting me. I'm like, yeah, kind of like how Buck supported that other single mom who they went and like transitioned their 8-year-old, helped some mom transition an 8-year-old daughter whose life has now been destroyed. Like maybe Buck isn't the one to reach out to, man. Like, you know, and listen, if Buck gets into like real recovery and is stable for a long time, I'll be the first one like cheering her on when she's like really solid. But no, but Buck's intentions are not pure. Okay, I don't think that she's totally evil. I think that she does have some good intentions, but I don't think all of her intentions are good. And I think she's a very sick lady. And I don't think no one needs to be looking to Buck Angel for advice on anything, especially not in the realm of this. Everything she says is contradictory, and I think she's doing more harm than good. Let's see. I don't know why the fuck my internet is pulling this shit on me right now. Like, of course it is. We couldn't connect with Instagram. Why does it say my internet's not working? Is my internet working, guys? Come on. It should be. For fuck's sake. Oh, man. Oh, my bad. If this keeps being a problem, I might just have to let the, let's see. Come on. Because it's a stupid piece of shit. Okay, good. The internet, it's true that I wish. All right, good. Yeah, no, Mandy says, yeah, I think we need to appreciate that detransitioners are also still going to be struggling with mental health long term. This isn't to discredit them, it's to say they have a lot going on. Exactly. We need to stop jumping to like, you know, just like listening to people. Right. They have a lot of deprogramming to do. You know, it is very traumatic what a lot of them have been through and confusing. And it's like, I think that, you know, the same way when we listen to, like when we hear these jailhouse interviews with some like sadistic killer who wants to be open and explain why he was horrible, it's always through the filter of like a qualified interviewer who can kind of like help us understand what we're hearing. You know, we're not just like, oh, how should we do things? You know, why don't you tell us? It's like, it's always taken with a grain of salt. Come on. Fuck. Let me try one more. I might, hold on. Of course, it's like not going to allow me to quit because it's a big piece of shit. Damn it. So mad. Just do something. Remind me later. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really trying to get something on here. Here, let me see. Hold on. I'm going to read something. I'll just read it off of here. Let's see. Because I wanted to just read the Jonathan Joly female inside. What is it? A woman inside of him. What did we say that the name was? Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm going to just read this to you guys. We're going to have a little reading because I can't pull anything up. How homeschooling his trans daughter helped one dad clarify his gender identity. Okay, and of course, here's Jonathan wearing his fave pink silk top, his blouse, his favorite blouse. I mean, the hormones for Scott are medical, I guess, because she had a hysterectomy and needs sex hormones, but she's taking T, not estrogen. I don't know. That's not medical. Women do not, I'm sorry, testosterone is very dangerous. Male levels of androgens are very dangerous for women. We heard Prisha talking about it causes heart enlargement. It causes like issues with muscles and ligaments. No, I'm sorry. There's no therapeutic, high dose of testosterone for women. I disagree. I just think that just like Buck, she's just very conflicted. She knows how much harm has been done, but it's sort of like sunk cost fallacy and doesn't want to let it go. It's like, well, I've done all of this. I don't want to just let it go. Let's see. How homeschooling his trans daughter helped one dad clarify his gender identity. So here we go. Let's hear about how he is a autogynephile by proxy. As far back as he can remember, Jonathan Joly, the social media content creator by one of YouTube's most beloved families, knew something about him was different from the other boys. Oh my God. First of all, just to be clear, autogynephilia has a much later onset than homosexual transsexualism. So homosexual transsexualism, the onset is usually around the time when most kids start to come into some like pre-sexual awareness of what their future sexual orientation will be. So it's like 4 or 5. That's where you hear like the little kids who's like, I feel like I'm a girl. They're really just having this like emerging pre-sexual homosexuality, which I don't think that kids are like, truly sexual at that age. I think it's just like a precursor. Right. And that's usually like what they're, that's where the confusion is, because it's like they want to do the things that, girls are doing, and they feel like they're not like other boys or whatever. A lot of these autogynephiles know that that's the story that everybody accepts, because it's like, oh, well, when you've just been born, it's this whole born this way. This whole idea of like, it's just who I am. It's who I've always been inside. That sounds so much more legit and like, sympathetic than somebody's like, oh, I just kind of like, this, like got into this once I was exposed to it online. But it's important to note that the etiology of autogynephilia is different from homosexual transsexualism. Again, homosexual transsexualism usually appears early on in childhood, whereas autogynephilia it has a much later onset. That's why we usually see these middle-aged men who all of a sudden come out as trans and want to start cross-dressing full time when they've lived prior totally normal, heterosexual, masculine lives, right? They went on to have children, they had like masculine jobs, they've never shown any signs of wanting to cross-dress, and it just sort of seems like it starts to like come out of nowhere. That's because the onset for autogynephilia is usually late teenagerhood, early adulthood. Very similar to schizophrenia, actually. Schizophrenia also has a very late onset. You usually see it later in teenagerhood, early adulthood. And it usually starts off and it starts to emerge, and men don't usually act on it right away. And I think the reason why we're seeing younger and younger autogynephiles is because of this huge cultural shift towards transsexualism, and then also the exposure of porn, which I think is why we're seeing younger autogynephiles who are fully coming out and living as it. Whereas before, they would start to get this like attraction and arousal pattern, consistent with autogynephilia, but they they would kind of just keep it quiet. They knew it was sort of like weird or off-putting, and it was something that they very much kind of kept where it should be, which is in the closet behind closed doors. Not everybody needs to know about every sexual fetish and fantasy that you have. And acting like, by not parading around about it and applauding it and letting people act it out in the streets is like some horrible human rights violation. Is so deranged. It's not, okay? It should go back in the closet where it belongs. So anyway, a lot of these men who want to justify their transgenderism is like being not based in a fetish, and it's like who I truly am inside. They'll pick up the same shtick where they'll claim that they always knew from the time they were a kid, but like ask the parents and they're like, I don't really remember that, but I guess if he's saying it must be. I think I remember a time when he picked up a Barbie doll with his cousins. Yeah, now that you mention it, it's like, no. We're like making up memories that didn't actually happen. And it's just because of the whole sympathy thing. No one is sympathetic to an autogynephile. I mean, look at even Blair White. This is why, again, Blair White, I know it's such like homosexual dating strategy, and it's not even true gender dysphoria in his case. Because it's like he talks about how he was fine, he was a gay kid, just wasn't getting a lot of attention, and then all of a sudden learned about transgenderism and was like, bitch, that's what I am. And like decided that as an angle, and it was successful. But then it's like he backtracks and claims that he always knew from the time he was a kid, and his stories are so contradictory. And it's the same thing with Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce Jenner claims that he was always like that, even though he's like a quintessential autogynephile. He quintessentially follows the like timeline that we expect of autogynephilia from the onset and the manifestation and all that. And it's like they all like pretend that they always felt this way. No, they didn't. They probably started to get turned on by stuff in late teenagerhood, early adulthood, just like all the other AGPs. It's why it wasn't until you were like an empty nester, middle-aged man going through a middle-age crisis that you decided to role play this full time. TPS says once sexual attraction gets completely detached from reality and only personal pleasure matters. No, that's a really, really salient point. Scott Bridge, you're so funny. I don't know if you guys pay attention to this guy Scott who's in the chat. He says this is why he's this dude who like hates other men, and it's like it's fun. Sometimes you have some really good points, but like sometimes it's just funny. He says this is why men should never be allowed to hold political offices. They should never be allowed to hold power positions in corporations. Hey man, I'm with you, Scott. I'm with you, bro. Like I'm down. Yeah, like he's like really well spoken, but he always writes these like dissertations on like why men are like terrible. No, I know. I'm just kidding. I know like you don't, but you do have some funny some funny takes. And I support it. Scott, I'm with you. I support it. All right, so anyway, as far back as he can remember, Jonathan Joly, the social media content creator behind one of YouTube's most beloved families, knew something about him was different from the other boys. He only made friends with other girls. He played with girls' toys, and he thought himself as a girl. It's funny how they recover all these memories. At just 9 years old and growing up in conservative Dublin, Joly came very close to ending his... Oh, my God, it's always the same shtick. It's always how they... It's always the same origin story. How spectacular that you all have the exact same like thing. So at 9 years old and growing up in conservative Dublin, this is the father. So this is Jonathan Joly, who's like pruning out his son. Joly came very close to ending his life because he couldn't see a way out. Bro, I called it. Mandy, I want a written apology. No, I'm just kidding. She was saying that what's it called? Autogynephilia by proxy wasn't a thing, but bro, it definitely is, and this is very much a case. Joly came close to ending his life because he couldn't see a way out. He endured years of childhood bullying, abuse, and chronic misunderstanding from both adults and his peers. Today, at age 40, he has clarified his gender identity after watching his own child have the same experience. Oh boy, what are the odds? Boy, what are the odds? Scott Bridge says, I'm just saying the hard, brutal facts and reality. There's no guilt, bashing, self-loathing, or self-hating on my part by saying this. I only care about the facts and hard reality. That's it. I appreciate you. No, I do. And I wasn't trying to give you a hard time. I like your input, and I appreciate you, like being thoughtful and caring about us from our point of view. Today at age 40, he said, all my friends are invisible and spoke more in depth during an interview with Little Things. I am a non-binary person. Hold on one second. I'm a non-binary person and my sexuality is straight, explains Joly, who today resides in London with his wife, 4 children, and 6 dogs. I am a woman on the inside and a man on the outside. I can be fluid with my gender and identity. There may have been a moment in my childhood when, with the right support, I might have wanted to transition completely to a woman. But without examples in my life or the media I consumed, that was never an idea I could have imagined. So I kept those thoughts to myself and created my own world inside my imagination. It was called Domdi. It was a world filled with invisible friends. It helped me process and manage my own mental health and identity struggle. Come on. During the surprise, surprise, he figured all this out during the pandemic, which is like when everybody was so chronically online, so like narcissistically absorbed, and everybody came out with some special gender identity during the pandemic. So let's hear about Jonathan Joly. It's like, could you be more like stereotypical? During the pandemic, Joly admits, observing my child repeat the same behaviors and thought patterns woke the girl inside of me. Oh my God. This is actually like sinister. So during the pandemic, Joly admits, observing my child repeat the same behaviors and thought patterns woke the girl inside of me. I was suppressing her to ensure my daughter would not be subject to a lifetime of emotional trauma and confusion like I have been. Oh yeah, you did a great job of saving your son from a lifetime of emotional trauma and confusion. Yeah, you're killing it, John. Like killing it. His daughter is now 8 years old. They're talking about his son, Eduardo, who he now calls Edie. And Joly shares, myself and my wife, Anna, always knew there was something about our baby that went against the traditional idea of what a boy was. So you've always had this idea for a long time. And you were just waiting for the right kid to come along that you could like push this on to. Not your first son, no. But yeah, after you've got your heir out of the way, now the second son can be the disposable one, right? It's like Anna says his kid had been paraded on social media, homeschooled, and told how stunning and brave he is if he goes along with it. Homeschooled, of course. And now there's nobody else to kind of like challenge him. That's the problem with homeschooling. It's like, I think homeschooling is such a great option. God, I wish I could homeschool. And I like seriously do consider it. I'm like not sure if I have the confidence. So I'm like, because I want my kids to like be able to be like academically competitive and all this sort of stuff. And I don't know if I could, and then I wouldn't be able to like have the schedule that I have to do this. But man, sometimes I want to, and I want to like travel with them and stuff. And I might consider it with my oldest son. I just don't want to make a mistake and then regret it. But it's like, it's such a mixed bag because I think homeschooling can be one of the greatest gifts for a child. And then if you get the wrong parents, it can be a nightmare. It's also how a lot of abusers kind of keep their kids isolated. God damn it. My dog's bark. My dad like shows up at my house without letting me know, and he showed up. Now my dog is going crazy, and it's just annoying. Nobody ever communicates with me. Let's just all walk in Britt's house because that's a normal thing. All right, when my wife, it's fine. My dad and I are like really close. Let's see. His daughter is now 8 years old, and Joly shares, myself and my wife, Anna, always knew there was something about our baby that went against the traditional idea of what a boy was supposed to be. And I got to give him hold on. He's got my dog going crazy. Give me 1 second, guys. It's so annoying. It's fucking annoying. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm pausing the stream. 5 seconds. All right. My bad. That's I think like one of my biggest like hangovers from having a mom who was like, I do think she's narcissistic, and it's like I use that term sparingly because I feel like everyone accuses everyone of being narcissistic, although maybe there is like an increase in narcissism in our society. But like I think a big feature of narcissists is they never have boundaries. They'll just walk right in, totally disrespect your boundaries. My mom has done that my whole life, and I've always had to keep very strict boundaries with her. And like I think because of that, I remember as a kid always like wanting to lock my door. She would just bust in and rummage through my stuff and was just very invasive. And like, I always felt like under threat of just like having my privacy invaded, which was why I think this is so heinous what they're doing to these kids. And I think it's like made me hypersensitive to people like violating my privacy and my boundaries. Like want my own, be in control of my space. And I don't like it when people just drop in on me or like show up. It like makes my anxiety like go through the roof. But it's not something that my family can seem to process. And it's like, guys, I live stream. They'll all come in, they're like, Britt, and they'll all start like name dropping all my kids, and then I'm like, bro, shh. I'm like, I'm on a live stream. I know I don't have millions of followers, but I got a couple, so let's like chill out. And not a lot of people, not everybody likes me, so not everybody's gonna take this content, and like wanna like, like high five me. I mean, people I'm sure would be happy to find my docs and stuff like that. Like, can we just chill? But that's what it's like to have a family. Families are annoying. All right, here we go. But now my dad and I are super cool. Let's see. Let's see. All right, my daughter's not that. So again, we're talking about Jonathan Joly, talking about his son Eduardo, who he trooned out, and he's talking about how he has always had an inner troon. Myself and my wife Anna, the wife, who is completely ignored, who is like randomly shows up every once in a while as like a background prop. Boy, I feel sorry for her. Always knew there was something about our baby that was against the traditional idea of what a boy is supposed to be. Can we talk to Anna alone without you? Because I'd like to hear from her. And the older she got, the older he got, the more he expressed himself as a girl until she was old enough to start attending school. And that's where things took a turn for worse. She started to close up and become very quiet, had no friends, and wasn't the happy child she was before. Yeah, because he probably started to realize that like what his parents are doing is like weird, and like there's now like an incongruence between the reality hits that cross-dressing your child and making him wear fetish gear all the time and act in this weird, campy, obnoxious way most people aren't that interested in. You know what I mean? And it's like he's, all the stuff that gives him all the praise and attention and reinforcement at home is seen as very obnoxious and creepy anywhere else in the world. And so, of course, we had to cut school off because we couldn't possibly like augment and try to help our child integrate and socially. Wasn't happy child she was before. Near the end of kindergarten, when she was 5 years old, and I'm sure people were saying things to him that was making him question what his parents were having him do. And the parents, you guys got to understand, this is the parents' bread and butter. They make money off of social media. This is their bread and butter. You think that they're gonna let this kid just like up and drop the trans act? No. You're coming home. Fuck school. We're cutting it off. Get back in the dress and hush up and, prepare your lines for the next TikTok dance. All right? I don't want to hear anything from you. Ew. Let's see. In video, Anna says, in the videos, she repeats the girl name and pushing him to dolls, girl stuff, and medication. Mother took him to the clinic. Oh, really? Oh, Anna says she's as bad as he is. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, apparently I think one of the other kids is gay. So Rebecca Van Tassel says he's acting like a gay boy, not a little girl. Apparently the older son is gay. So the older son is gay. The younger, so they've just totally destroyed both these little boys. Like, and I'm sorry, and I maybe he's actually gay. I don't know. But I think we should also be kind of side-eyeing any sort of LGBTQ. To me, this is very, like, sexually inappropriate. I think the parents are being very sexually inappropriate with both of these kids. And grooming them and really weird stuff. Yeah, I know. Gerald Brooks says, gee, what are the odds? Yeah, it's real stunning. The dad's an AGP. The youngest son is a trans-identified male. And the oldest son is gay. And then the rest are just all, women. It's like, it's just weird. And of course, it's like these men, it's like they don't, it's like, it's a weird like way to like dominate womanhood. You know what I mean? And that's where things took a turn for the worse. She started to close up and became quiet, had no friends, wasn't a happy child, And she told my wife she was really excited for the next school year. Okay, wait, near the end of kindergarten, when she was 5 years old, she told my wife she was really excited for the next school year so she could start wearing the pretty dress her sister wore at school. I have never had, my kids do like fashion and all that sort of stuff. My kids do not dwell on clothes the way this child seems to dwell on clothes. Like, it just seems like you guys overly enforce and push. And again, all these like hidden signals where they're signaling to the child without even having to like specifically coach the child, right? We can signal our kids without literally telling them like, here, you have to do this kind of stuff. All right. When my wife told her She wouldn't be wearing that. She would instead be wearing a gray shirt and gray shorts. She was once again reminded that how she felt didn't match up to how the world saw her. I mean, you don't have to go from like a pink sparkle dress to like the gray shirt and gray shorts, and you're going to be wearing like a military haircut. It's like, there's some gray area. There's a gradient in between those two fashion choices. It's like, yeah, PMCK says, children need and respect boundaries. They can totally tell when they have the upper hand with parents. Oh, and will abuse it even though they themselves are, 1000%. And it's like, even though they push against the boundaries, it like doesn't actually make them feel good. It's so true. At age 6, their child started to live 2 lives. At home, she had a wardrobe with all her sister's hand-me-down clothes on one side and her school uniform for boys on the other. When the pandemic hit and schools shut down, she asked, "Does this mean I get to be a girl all the time now, Daddy?" I'm sure she did. That included eventually turning on her camera during virtual class and proudly wearing a wig. You had this little boy wear a wig to virtual class? That's what you're doing there, Jonathan? Man, you're killing it as a father. Once she told us she wanted to change her pronouns, followed shortly by her name, there was a period of adjustment for everyone in our family, admits Joly. Her younger siblings, unable to understand why their older brother was now their older sister, took some time. But now, how many were they just having kids back to back to back to back? So at 5 or 6, she had he had multiple younger siblings and multiple older siblings. I mean, that part, it's whatever, but still. Now it's almost like she has always been their big sister. It made it a lot easier when she never presented herself as a boy, even when being referred to with male pronouns. So there wasn't much change other than the paperwork and some light admin. Ew, they got him like legally changed. You got a 6-year-old legally changed to be a female? Bro, what a mess. Going back to in-person school wasn't an easy transition, but Joly's daughter announced herself and has begun to find acceptance amongst her classmates. She is a whole, I guess this is before they yanked her and put her in homeschooling. She's a whole new person, not just a new name. Whoa, 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 whoa. He's a new person? I thought that's who he's always been, though. How is he a new person? I'm confused. I thought that that's just who he's always been, and it's just affirming who he is. Like, none of it makes sense. So is Joly after he began living his truth too. His wife has been supportive the entire time. There's been no change in my marriage because the only reason I married my wife was because she was the first person I ever told my truth to and she didn't leave, confides Joly. Oh boy, that sounds healthy. Before her, there is a long list of broken relationships and heartache when my projective personality clashed with my internal needs, and that always ended in destruction. You mean when women found out that you were a sexual pervert, they left? Boy, what a surprise. Joly elaborates that in their unique family saying, I get asked a lot about what do I do if I'm wrong? If this is just a discovery phase and she might regret this later on. Oh, yeah, well, too late for that. You already went and changed his birth certificate, changed his name and his gender marker, his sex. I have asked her this, and she tells me it'll never happen. Yeah, I'm sure. Knowing how much this means to you specifically, Dad, you think he's going to want to come to you? Why wouldn't you, set him up with, a neutral therapist? Currently, she tells me it'll never happen, but we have put something in place for her. She knows where the boy is. And if she ever wants to go and get him and become him again, she can. No. You and I know that it is not that easy for this little boy. A boy, a girl, she knows that her parents will love her regardless of her identity or gender. A boy, a girl, neither. She will always be my child. And the same goes for my other 3 children. I love them all equally. Yeah, but this one a little more equally, right? Right, Dad? And each of them will be an individual and have their own obstacles to overcome. But they will know, having seen how we supported their sister, that there are no restrictions in our house. Yeah, except for, not being some so no restrictions. What if one of them is gender critical and calls this out for the bullshit that it is? Is that acceptable? Does that work? Can they call you out on your grift there, Joly? Oh wow. Rebecca Van Tassel says phalloplasty was tested on dogs, but trans against animal testing except for them. Oh, but trans are against animal testing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh my God. So the yeah, of course. It's so sick. Yeah, psychopathic abusers, split personalities. There's such a correlation between men with cross-dressing fetishes and autogynephilia and like sadistic behavior. All right, but I actually gotta go. My son just walked in, and damn, I wanted to do more on this guy. That's all right though. That was good. And give me some more like topics and stuff. Give me some ideas of who you guys are interested in like seeing me interview. Please don't forget to like the stream. Like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, please do join us. It's a fun crew. Yeah, share the video, comment, all that good stuff. If you want to support me and if you want to help me, I'm still trying to get some funds to get I want to get a good microphone and sound system so everybody can stop complaining. If you want to help me with that, it would really be great because I can't just get it right now. Otherwise I would have bought it already, but Christmas and all that. But if you want to help me out, it's Cash App is $ a slightly twisted XX, and Venmo is just at a slightly twisted female. That one's the easiest. Venmo's really the best, but whichever. Don't go to my PayPal. I got to take that off because they don't even let me get on there. It's so weird. I got to call them. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for joining. If you want to email me, you can email me at a slightlytwistedfemale@gmail.com. Again, don't forget to like the stream. And I love you guys. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Amazon wish list. Ooh, I'll do that. Good call. Good call. Yeah, VPNs. If you guys can't get on here, VPNs. Alrighty. Goodbye. Bye everybody. Love you guys.